Tinfoil hat. Oh, what the fuck are you guys even talking about?
Global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them.
Welcome to Tinfoil Hat. We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Are you ready to get your mind blown?
Good morning, Swarm, and welcome to Tinfoil Hat. You know I am. You know I'm here to do. I'm here to join me as always, Xavier Guerrero, and on the ones and twos, Juicy Johnny J Nice. Johnny Woodard.
Hey now.
Yeah, guys, love you, Swarm. Love you, Swarm. No matter how badly a guy who's unhinged is trying to rebrand the Swarm as the Swamp. We see what you're doing. We think it's childish.
Fucking rude.
Fucking rude. Childish. Just as this is why you are where you are. Can't play well with others. That's just how it goes. And you know what? We were always kind. We always put out. But you know what, man? We didn't start this. Fair is fair. We didn't start this. We didn't want this. But fair is fair. And we're just chill. But we see it and nobody cares. I just need you to know that. So
nobody cares. Just like
nobody gives
nobody
a
cares
shit.
who invented email.
Nobody cares. We're not getting angry or anything like that. We don't care. Okay, so keep having fun, yelling in the corner to the wall by yourself. Have fun. So, anyways, guys, we have a great show for you. We have a wonderful show for you. We have the one and only, the man, the myth, the legend, Tony Merkel, coming on, and he does not let us down. He just comes and brings the big guns out. We're talking portals. We're talking vampires. We're talking Dogman. We're talking Dogman on Facebook Lives.
Dogfoot.
We're talking clouds of death. Okay? We're talking all sorts of stuff. Tony Merkel crushes it on this episode. I think it's 2 hours of pure power. So we hope you guys enjoy. Again, nothing but bangers. Okay? So that's for you. And we hope you enjoy it. We're very thankful. You know, the show in December will be 7 years.
Wow.
7 years in December. And it's still banging with the young bucks on the the top 200 in comedy. It's so funny because you'll be like, oh, this is the top 200. People are like, oh, top 200. I'm like, dude, you don't even have a clue how many comedy podcasts there are.
It's the most competitive genre of
It's
podcast
unbelievable.
by far. Yeah.
There's like 200 comedy podcasts and like one block in like New York City.
Yeah.
If you're top 200 in any category in the podcast,
anything.
you should be thanking yourself.
Yeah,
That's so many
it's so
podcasts of
crazy.
everything.
So anyways, if you want to see Sammy live, just go to samtrue.com. All my dates are there. What is not there is we already have an amazing comedy cast. We're doing 2 shows, everybody. Bang, bang, pow. That's right.
Dose.
We're going to have an 8 p.m. show. We got Bobby Lee, Sebastian Maniscalco. We're adding people as we go. And then the second show, Eddie Bravo, Jimmy Dore, and I'm putting together a whole list
Wait
of
up. You got both of them in one show?
Yeah, in one show, bro. So I'm trying to put together the savages, the pure savages, for that second show. I got feelers out to Adam Carolla. Might be too late for him, but let's go. Let's
do
go.
it.
Let's
Come
go.
on.
I want to put out all the political fucking.
My girl really wants to go. I think we might show up again if you'll have us.
Yeah, of course, bro. As long as you'll bust tables,
Oh,
you can
dude.
give some free
Dude,
tickets.
I'm always willing.
You heard that, ladies. You heard that, ladies.
Look at
Johnny's
this guy.
pulling up. Johnny's pulling up. But
Johnny's
he's taking,
pulling
so
up.
show
You
up
want
for
to see
me.
Juicy Johnny and his fake girlfriend?
Yeah, just come to the early show. My
Come-
girl will be at the late show.
Come to the bang!
Bang.
Johnny's on fire. New T-shirts are coming up. We got the we have the George Bush death cult that people love. We have the back by popular demand, and we can't tell you what it is, but you know what it is. Okay,
Ted Kaczynski.
What? Can we say that?
Yeah, we can. We can.
Where does
Those-
this go? I mean,
yeah,
who's
the-
gonna know?
Okay,
The
yeah.
website's the only one they can know.
The mystery shirt is the Unabomber shirt that got banned on the internet, but not.
Etsy's the one that can't know.
Yeah,
They can't know.
Yeah, they don't tell Etsy. Okay, don't tell Etsy. But that's a mystery shirt. We got more shirts coming. I got some great ones, some great shirts coming up, and so a lot of you guys know we're gonna be selling Conspiracy Social Club T-shirts there as well. because Justin wants to do that. Anything else, guys?
New Broken Sim is out. We had a good one. We're getting ready to start this 75-day challenge. Me and Sam, a fitness thing.
Yeah, if you want to get in on it, bro.
Yeah,
get in on
we got
it.
everybody. A lot of people.
I'd love to see what you give up. So
by
real
the way-
quick,
Yeah,
Rockfin, all my premium content, dude. The new tinfoil hat premium content that I'm putting out, the deep conspiracy rewinds are fire, bro. We broke down Donald Rumsfeld's September 10th speech. Then we went into him just getting grilled by the Senate, and then finally we do Louis C.K. on Opie and Anthony. Did you ever hear this where he asked Donald Rumsfeld if he's a lizard
of course.
person?
Yeah, it's great.
That alone should get Louis C.K. a get out jail free card. It's the most hilarious shit you've ever think.
Oh, it's so funny, dude. Yeah.
And then Cash Daddies has a Patreon. Our good friend Howie Dewey is crushing it. All of our affiliates are there. More to come. These are things I think you need. And then all my free content is on samtripoli.com. Anything else?
We just had Hibbler on the We Don't Smoke the Same show, and him and Ezo kind of went at it because he was asking him like, "Yo, you graduated college? Explain to me why it's a circle. Why is the Earth a circle and Ezo a sphere?" Ezo was just like,
Yeah, nobody can answer.
"Nobody can answer
any
it."
of the
So
questions.
if you want to see a dumb guy be dumb, go listen over there.
Go check it out. Anything else, Johnny?
No. Well, yeah, sure. Johnny A. Woodard on Instagram. I need more.
Yeah,
followers
guys,
over
start a link tree so I can put it in the
Let's do it.
description. God,
Nobody
all right,
looks
guys,
at the
love you guys. Enjoy the powerful Tony Merkel.
We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mic. Drink.
All right,
Fountain.
continue with the heavy hitters that we're bringing on the show. Nothing but bangers, bro. That's what we do on this show. Nothing but bangers, dude. Very excited that he's on the show. He has one of the best podcasts in the game and one of the best websites. His podcast is The Confessionals. Please welcome Tony Merkel. How are you, brother?
I'm good, man. It's good to be back. Haven't talked to you in a while.
Yeah, it's been a while, man. You're going there building your empire in Tennessee. We were just talking about that, and a lot of great stuff going on. A lot of like interesting times for the people who have been podcasting for a while. You know, it's interesting times, and we were kind of getting into how long does this go? How long do we do this? And but you know, you do a great job. You've created a wonderful, wonderful empire, and you're doing it. So before we get into everything, Tony, for those who may not be familiar with you and your many wonderful appearances on this show, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where our guests can find you?
Yeah, Tony Merkel, host of the Confessionals podcast. And I started in the process of doing the podcast. I started a company called Merkel Media. And that evolved from a podcast company to now we're doing films and we're hunting down legends and monsters and everything in between through Merkel Media Films. We just went to Skinwalker Ranch last year, and we just did a couple months ago. We went out to Washington State hunting down the infamous Bigfoot in a very notorious area. And that's what I do. I live in the fringe of things. And the Confessionals is a podcast where I have people come on and they share their personal experiences with the paranormal, weird, out left field kind of thing. And they come on and share their experiences. We hold a good conversation about it, and people seem to enjoy it. So that's my baby, the Confessionals. And Merkel Media is the new side hustle. And we're doing the films and having a good time.
I think it's great. And I think that you are Hollywood's worst nightmare. People like you, people we've had on the show that are creating like high quality, in-depth docs and movies. And I think they're in trouble, bro. I think 100%. People like you are doing amazing stuff. I think, you know, I hope that movie making doesn't get to the point of like music where just like rich kids can punch buttons and suddenly something comes out great. It may happen with AI. We don't know, but I do love that the indies now, the independents are out there putting out stuff that's just as interesting as anything I see on Netflix or Amazon Prime or any of those big bangers. So it's like great, and you're onto it, and you're creating an empire, you know. I've been thinking a lot about like my legacy and what I'm going to do, you know, and I look at somebody like, you know, when we gigged the other day with Eddie Bravo, I'm like, this motherfucker has an empire. He has an empire. We're chilling with an emperor.
Got 100 schools, I think.
Right? And like, I think, I'm trying to find out, I think he's one of the, like, if he did invent it, he's one of them, no gi. Like, he's one of the first of the no gi guys. Like, he's a legend. And he has this amazing thing that he can pass down to the next generation. I'm all in on, like, what am I going to wear? I know that nobody's going to talk about me when I'm dead, but it's like,
No, they're going to hear you.
what do I want to pass on to my kids? I think about that all the time. So you're creating something amazing that, you know, that if you just keep building it, it's going to be generational. You're always going to be making these amazing docs. And if your kids want to do it, they can do it. My kids will probably grow up and become like Antifa and just hate conspiracy theorists, but because, you know, when the parents zig, the kids love to zag. That's how it goes. So but they love their dad and dad loves them. But so what's new, dude? Let's talk. What's going on?
So I mean, kind of piggybacking off that and stuff. My kid, my son, he's 5. My daughter's 3, and right now they're at the age where they have questions. They talk about Bigfoot and all the weird stuff that I do. They seem to like it. My son wants to go hunt monsters with me, and he gets upset when I go without him because he thinks he needs to protect me. I'm gonna get eaten by a Bigfoot.
Aww.
So I mean, I'm trying to do some stuff that is legacy building on that front as well. You know, I've been fortunate that with Merkel Media, I've had people come alongside of me to really help me in the process with this film stuff. Joseph Granda, he is a huge role. He's the head of film and streaming development at Merkel Media. He's been on Broadway, he's been in Hollywood, and he works with me. And I'm like, I don't know why, but I'm good with it, man. Like, he's a really solid guy, and he's been helping along the way. But the whole motivation in this process for me is to build content that does fight against the culture of the day, and also in the same breath leave something behind that my kids can, you know, look at and at least be proud of their dad with, if not joining in the fight and in the action with it all. So you know, I'm not out here, you know, with picket signs and yelling and screaming at protesters and stuff, but I'm trying to create stuff that people can enjoy, that they don't have to worry about sitting in front of me like, okay, what's the freaking message here? You know what I mean?
With you on that. It's like, I've been talking about, it's like impossible to be a conspiracy theorist and watch children's programming right now. Right? You're like, oh. But here, you know, I want to get into all the stuff you want to talk about, but you know, I was watching the new Super Mario movie, and for the first time in my life, did I already talk about this with you guys?
I don't recall.
I was watching with my daughter. She's about 3.5 almost, right? Isn't that crazy? My kids are almost 3.5.
Yeah.
Like, it's nuts. They're just
5's here, basically.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. It's like, don't fast forward it, bro. I want to rewind it. I don't want to move any quicker. But, you know, I go, oh, is Super Mario too much for her? I'm like, fuck it. Who cares? Let's watch this, right? So we watched it. And for the first time ever in my life, I understood strong female leads. Because my daughter was watching it. And she was really like loving the princess. And I was watching her watch the princess do all the moves that when she's teaching Super Mario, and I'm like, okay, I get this. I get what they're doing. But it's like, it's gone too far, right? That's where we go. Like, okay, we like strong female leads. We don't need everything to be rewritten into, like, we don't need,
and it doesn't have to be at the expense of the male characters.
That's why Super Mario was great, because it wasn't at the expense of him. Like, together.
I mean, not that it was at expense, but to me, that's not what I remember Super Mario. Super Mario didn't need Peach at all.
Well, I mean,
like, I know. When I watched it, I know how you're looking at it through your daughter. When I watched it, I'm watching it as like, that's not what happened when I was watching, when I played Mario often. And I'm not saying that's correct.
No,
I'm not saying that's correct. I'm just like, oh, that's not. But I know why it's progressing. But when I was watching it as like, huh, Mario never needed Peach.
Yeah,
he just needed to save her. She was just there to save her. But now that you're saying, okay, I was like, okay, I could see how you're seeing it like that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, and but you know, you don't need to make, like, you know, the Bond a female. That he's a guy.
Yeah.
Come up with you have Tomb Raider. You have all these
We don't need Jamie
amazing
Bond out
brands. You don't need to flip these old bands, but this is all part of it. Enough of that. Tony, I want to get into some of your stuff that you've been doing. You've been out to Joshua Tree. Is that what I've been told, or is that what I've understood?
Yeah, well, I'm going to be going to Joshua Tree.
Oh, okay.
I love it out there,
Yeah.
dude. I love it out there.
You would, Johnny.
Yeah, you would,
I
John.
mean, I love, what are you doing in Joshua Tree, dude? What's out there?
Hunting colts and dogmen and vampires and everything in between, man.
Oh, that's
Like, are you ready to see a dog, man? Are you ready to see that?
That's a good question.
Because I would shit my pants.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where you just don't know until you know. And I've talked to enough people that survived their encounter with Dogman, and I'm like, you know what? I'd like a little piece of that action. So I kind of, I guess I'm a little crazy in that sense, but I've found some crazy guys that come running around with me to do it, and it's all over the place though. I mean, I can do it here in Tennessee. I mean, I have crazy stuff popping off right around me here in Tennessee, like where I'm going today and stuff. It's just nuts. And what happened was with the Joshua Tree thing, it was an episode on the show, and it was episode 512, and it kind of caught me off guard because it had so many different pieces and elements to it. If you want, I can tell the story here. It's
Yes.
So this story, let me just preface it with this. This interview that I did with this guy was almost 4 hours long. So there's no way I'm going to encompass all the details here. So that's why I said episode 512, if people want to hear the whole thing, it's really wild. And I'm sure I'm going to forget plenty of details, but there's this guy, James, he contacted me, and he had just moved to LA from Atlanta. He's in the movie business. He works with Netflix stuff. And he wasn't out in LA very long. This is all really recent. I mean, I'm talking since last April of 2022. So he's in LA. He has a roommate. He's there not very long, and he starts making some friends. And him and his roommate go out to a bar. It was a Friday night, and they go out to a bar. And while his friend walks away from the table, some other guy comes over and starts talking to him, and they become friendly. And so the three guys are talking, and they decide that, the night's kind of getting wound down now. And so they start heading out the door. And this new guy, Mark, he said, hey, there's this other bar over here that I want to go check out. If you guys can come with me. And so, James's roommate was like, I kind of want to go home, but okay. And so they all go over to this bar. When they get there, his roommate sees the kind of people going in, and he's like, I'm thinking I'm going to go home now, because like all the people walking in were like dressed in like goth clothing and real like dark and just kind of like that evil look. And he wasn't trying to go in there. So he goes home and leaves James with this new guy that they just met that brought him to this. I know it's kind of a shady thing to do, I guess. But so they go in, and he said that it was weird, and there was a lot of details that he shared about in there and the people in there. But just to speed the story along, I would say that the people in there were very goth looking, and they had a lot of questionable characteristics, and so they leave there, and it's probably, I think he said it was like 2-3 o'clock in the morning when they left there. And this guy Mark was going to take James back to his apartment. And while they're driving, Mark gets a text, and he starts kind of acting different. And he starts talking to James about a party in Joshua Tree and that he wants to go to. And James is like, man, I just want to go home. I'm tired. And this guy, Mark, keeps going back and forth. He gets a phone call, and he basically talks James into going out to Joshua Tree with him. And so they drive from wherever they're at out to Joshua Tree. They get there. I think he said it was like the sun was just coming up or something. It was the Saturday morning, next day. And he spends the next couple of days there, and it gets really, really bizarre. When he's there, they first get there, they kind of sleep in the car for a while, and you kind of get an assessment of how many people are there. And he said there was tents everywhere, some RVs, and everybody was talking about these two twin DJs that were coming in from Europe. and they were pretty excited about it. And again, he's just an outsider. He really doesn't know what's going on. So he's just there to have a good time. And apparently it's this big, long party in the desert. And so he's out there and he's talking with a couple people, and he comes across this one girl who she seemed like she didn't want to stay there. In fact, I know she didn't want to stay there because she basically said so. She said that she was kind of like almost like rocking in her chair, and she was acting all skittish, and she's like, I don't want to be here when night comes. And he's like, why? And she's like, last night was crazy, and I don't want to be here. And while he's talking with these people, this guy comes walking by in what looked like a Mad Hatter hat and like a big top hat. And he said that this guy tells James to put on a bracelet, and he says, you're VIP. And James is like, okay, I guess I'm VIP now. And so he's like, I don't know what that means, but okay. And he notices that James and I think he said one or two other people he saw with VIP bracelets on. Nobody else had VIP bracelets. And while they're there talking and stuff, some of the people are asking James some questions, and they said to him, are you Jewish? And he said, no, I'm not Jewish. I was raised Catholic, this, that, and the other. He starts talking. And the people say, oh, well, we're all Jewish. And then this guy, Mark, that brought him out, pulls him aside and said, hey, man, you got to stop talking. You're saying too much right now. And he's like, I was just answering some questions. And he's like, just don't talk about that stuff. And so it's kind of getting weird. And he meets this guy, Ali. And Ali...
You're saying too much. Hey, I'm Catholic. Shh, dog. You're talking too much.
What is happening here?
So weird.
I don't know. And even the Jewish thing, like, I still don't quite understand. But he meets this guy, Ali, and Ali is real nice and friendly. And he says, hey, man, if you're tired and you need to sleep, here's an air mattress. This is your bed. You can have this bed. It's yours. And so he's like, oh, thanks, man. And so they go out throughout the day and stuff, and they're just, socializing and kind of, I guess, gearing up for that night. And at one point, James goes into a porta potty to use the bathroom. And this is the first thing that happens that really seems to be kind of other, supernatural, weird, off. He goes, it's the super porta potty from hell, right? He goes in, and he said he just took a piss, and when he came out, he said there was noticeably more people there. I mean, he was there all day. He saw how many people were there. He comes out of the porta potty a minute or two later, and he said there was noticeably a difference in the amount of people. He said there was a lot more people there, and he doesn't know where they came from. You would have seen them coming. You would have heard them coming. They all of a sudden just seem to appear.
He's sober? He's at the party. He's like 100% sober?
Yeah, so he says several times throughout this experience that he is sober. He said he was drinking a little bit, but he said it was like periodically throughout the day he was having a beer or something. It wasn't like he was just drinking a ton. And I've had other people, because of this experience is really wild. Other people have said that this guy probably was slipped something or whatever. After I had aired this episode, I've had other people come forward to confirm their personal experiences in this area.
Oh my God.
And one of them that seems to have a little bit of an interaction with this said party.
Okay. Go on. Sorry, XG asked that question.
No, it's fine. It's fine. So he comes out, he notices all those people are there, and he just kind of like shrugs it off, and the night comes, and when night comes, the party starts, and he says that there was a female DJ that started things off, and there's this big tent that everybody was going into, and music's playing and stuff. And he said that when she was doing her thing, he said it looked like she was transforming, like she was shape shifting.
What?
Inside the tent. And he's again, like James is the kind of person, he's coming to my studio here in about a month or so to kind of talk about this in more detail in person. But he's the kind of person that wants to give people the benefit of the doubt. He wants to just kind of be like, oh, I'm just kind of, it's me, it's not you kind of thing.
Perfect victim for a blood drinking cult, it sounds like.
Oh my God.
You guessed it, Johnny.
Hey guys, real quick, I want to tell you about our friends at Blue Chew. Blue Chew is sponsoring this episode. Let me tell you about Blue Chew.
Guys, remember the days when you were always ready to go? Hell yeah. Now you can increase your performance and get the extra confidence in the bed. Listen up, BlueChew.com. Made by Americans for Americans, okay? That's what we're talking about. Just swords and holes. That's what it's all about, everybody. Blue Chew's unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in a chewable tablet for a fraction of a cost. Bam! You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever the opportunity arises, or as I like to call it, boner chicken. That's what I'm talking about, okay? Take a boner pill. See, the weirdest time you can get rock hard with Blue Chew. That's right. So the process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com. Consult with one of their licensed medical providers. And once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. The best part, it's all done online. No visits to the doctor's office. No awkward conversations. No waiting in line at the pharmacy. That's right. Blue Chew tablets are made in the USA and prepared and shipped directly to your door in a discreet package. USA. And unlike me, I go run outside and put fireworks around it so all my neighbors, including the hot chicks that live next door, know daddy's going to Pound Town. Everyone's going to Pound Town. Rock hard boners to fight terrorism. That's what I want to thank Blue Chew for helping us fight terrorism with these rock hard American boners, okay? Giving myself a little bald eagle. That's what I got, okay? So here's what I want you to do. Blue Chew wants to help you have better sex. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. Chew it and do it. And we got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use the promo code TINFOIL at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com. Promo code TINFOIL to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details, important safety information, and we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this podcast and helping American boners get rock hard.
So she's doing like this shape-shifting thing, and he's just kind of like, all right, this is weird, this is crazy. And then the twins come up and they start doing their session, and nothing looked right anymore, including the people around him. He starts looking around and he starts seeing these people, and some of them within like 6 feet of him, that looked like they were vampires. That's the way he described them. He said their eyes were like glowing red. They had noticeably long, fangy teeth.
What?
And if you needed any more proof that this person was a vampire, the one that was like 6 feet away from him was biting on somebody's neck, and he saw blood coming out.
What?
Now, yes. And now what I want to tell you is that this is something that is not new to me. There are lots of people who try to be vampires, and they do these kind of things. There's actually rituals that people go through to, they believe once they go through and complete the ritual, they become a vampire. In fact, once you hit certain levels within, I guess the occult or some kind of sect of it, I was told that you have to make a decision. You either want to become a vampire or you want to become a werewolf, or like I always talk about, the Dogman. And I was told that a lot of people choose vampire because if you choose werewolf, it's one of the most excruciating, physical, painful things you'll ever go through.
I've literally heard this.
Really?
That it's way more painful to become a vampire, a werewolf than a vampire.
Yeah. I mean, you got to think about, like, if you're physically transforming your body werewolf wise, you're changing your absolute makeup. Yeah. And people talk about seeing the transformation happen and hearing bones cracking. So there's a whole supernatural element, obviously, to this. But anyways, so he sees vampires in the tent and he's like, what the freak is going on here? And he looks behind him and he sees, at first he sees two individuals. I'll call them individuals, but they're demonic entities. So they looked like people, but they weren't people. They were acting weird. The one person, at least, he said, had no fingers. It was just like their hand was a blur. Like becomes a common theme throughout this, that parts of their bodies were almost like blurry. He sees children running around him in this tent, and he said that the children running around were running at like the speed of light. They were running extremely fast, and so like there's this like whole weird crazy thing going on. And at that point, he's like, I just got to get out of here, because his friend Mark is standing there, and he's like, are you seeing this? And his friend Mark's just like, man, you're tired, whatever, trying to brush it off. And
oh shit, Mark brought him in. Mark's a coyote, a vampire coyote.
Yes.
And I wonder if his name is really Mark, you know, because he's actually the Mark.
Not.
He's the Mark. Get it? Like he brings in the Marks.
Damn, bro.
So all right, let me just tell you this. Mark isn't his real name. We gave him a fictitious name for
snap.
That's too bad.
Because he was very scared that this guy would hear him talking about it. He's scared that these people are going to come find him. I'll also tell you that, like, he moved to LA last year, went through this experience, and about 2 months ago, he moved back to Atlanta because he didn't want to be in LA anymore. So he's now back in my area. That's why he's coming up to the studio here next month. But so like he leaves the tent, and Mark and Mark's friend come with him, and he goes outside, and they're like, hey man, you're just tired and stuff, trying to brush it off and stuff. And he's like, I don't know what's going on here, but this is crazy. And they're like, you're just tired, you need some rest. And so they walk him over to a vehicle, some kind of like truck, and they said, here, just hop in there, get some rest. And
come on.
He was about to get in the truck.
Why would you get in the truck?
Don't get in the truck.
In the desert.
This is by the way, we just found out that every horror film where somebody's like, let's just shower. Everybody's missing. Maybe I need to shower right now. This is why. So this guy's entertaining getting in the truck where he just sees some vampire shit, bro.
Nope.
No, I'm like, I'll run.
Nope.
I'll run.
I'll walk home.
I'll walk home. I'll hitchhike home, bro. I ain't even fucking around.
It's so dark in the desert. I mean, it's hard to say.
Well, maybe I would get in the truck. If I wouldn't get into their truck, I'd find another truck that wasn't their truck. I'd be like, is this your truck? Fuck off. I'm going in that truck.
Oh, here's another thing with that is when he was given the VIP bracelet, he asked somebody what it meant, and they said, oh, it means just basically you can get into anywhere here. And so he has that in the back of his mind. And so they say, just hop in here. And it's like a truck that was like kind of rigged for, camping on the road kind of thing. And, but what he noticed was that as he was about to get into this little compartment to sleep, he noticed that it locks from the outside.
No.
And so that's what he said. He's like, no. And he backed out of it, and because Mark and this other guy started walking away. So he hopped out and he ran over to Mark again, and he's like, are you guys going back into the tent? And they're like, aren't you gonna get some sleep? And he's like, no, I'm just gonna stay out and stuff. And he said when he's talking to him, they started whispering back and forth to each other, saying something. And he said at this moment, their faces started looking like they were erased. Like if you took an eraser and erased something you wrote on the paper, that's what their faces started looking like. And so he starts like freaking out. And they wind up going back into the tent. And he goes off. And I always kind of, this is the part of the story where maybe I get backwards at times. But he goes back over to like this line of RVs, and he starts kind of like trying to open them up and stuff, because he's thinking, well, they said I can go anywhere, so I'm going to try to find somewhere I can go that's safe. And nothing. I think nothing was open or whatever, but he starts walking down this line, and there is a group of people around like a makeshift campfire, and the people, they see him coming, and they asked him why he was trying to get in the RVs. And he's like, oh, I was just trying to, figure I was trying to find a place to rest. And the lady goes to him, you have no idea what kind of evil is here. And again, James was trying to play things off. He's like, yeah, man, it's cool. I'm whatever. And then she goes, you don't have any idea what's going to happen to you tonight. And
what the fuck?
And the hair on the back of his neck started standing up, and I can't remember if he said that these people's eyes were yellow as well. I can't remember, but I always feel like that's part of the story here, but I don't remember if that's actually the case or not.
Time to go.
But Yeah, he starts. He's like, okay. And he's like, I'm just gonna head on over this way, and they're just kind of staring at him. Well, he kind of goes in another direction, and he comes across a group of beings that are wearing cloaks.
Oh my God! It just keeps getting weirder.
I'm telling you, this is a wild story.
And you said you're going there?
Yep.
What,
He's going.
nuts,
He's
bro?
on the way.
Yeah, I was gonna go this year, but I was hunting Bigfoot when I needed to go, so I'm gonna go next year. But so, and I'll get to that at the end. But so he sees these people, these entities. I'm gonna call them entities, wearing cloaks because he says they were floating. They weren't standing, and there was a pentagram on the ground on fire that they were circled around.
God.
Nope.
And there was an upside down cross sitting there as well.
Oh my
And
God.
he sees this, and maybe this is where I get the yellow eyes from, because I remember him saying that they turn towards and they see him, and the one entity points at him, and he starts backing up, and then the entity motions to the others, like, start going towards him, start getting him. So he runs. Oh, I forgot to also tell you, before he started going down the row of campers, looking for a place to rest, where he saw that campfire circle, he went to that guy Ollie's vehicle or whatever, that he's like, hey, this is your bed, you can sleep here, this is yours for the weekend, you're good. The guy really nice. And he sees Ollie, and he's like, Ollie, something weird is happening. And Ollie's tone was totally different. He's like very straightforward, like cold. I don't have time to talk to you, leave me alone kind of attitude. And as he's running back in that direction, he sees his bed, his mattress that Ollie gave him. And it had flower petals in the shape of a human on it. And so in his head, he's like, this mattress, I was told was for me, and now they have these flower petals in the shape of a human on it. He starts freaking out. He's running. These cloak figures, they're coming, and he runs. And there's a lot. Let me just also say this: there's a lot of pieces of the story that tie into other stories that I've either been told or I've been experiencing. It's really wild. He runs towards, like, I guess, let's just say the border of this whole area out in the desert where this party's going on. He runs into these cloaked figures that are standing at this entrance, maybe to guard it or whatever. And when he runs into them, one actually grabs him and hisses at him.
What?
And he said when he pushes it off, he said it was physical, but it wasn't physical. Like he I think on the interview, he kind of just like brushed over because he didn't know how to explain it. He's like, I don't know how to explain this. Like, I was able to push it off, but it wasn't like a physical person either. And so he pushes it off, and as it's coming, at some point he starts invoking the name of Jesus, and this is where it gets really interesting.
This is where it gets interesting.
Yeah.
It's been interesting the whole time.
Fucking cult.
So I'm gonna leave the name of Jesus out of that part of the story because I can't remember if it's actually part of it or not. But he's running, and he's trying to get away now. So now he's like literally going out into the desert.
Oh my God.
And I'm not familiar with Joshua Tree. I'm sure you guys are way more familiar than I am. But,
I am not at all.
Okay. I know it pretty well. Yeah.
What do you know about it?
I mean, I go on vacation up there. So
They do have some crazy homes though, where if he's talking like cult stuff, where you can get
houses.
like, I mean, look, pull one up,
and you can Airbnb them for like way less than you would think. Like
way
if a group
less.
gets
Oh
them,
yeah,
it's
because
nothing.
that's how they get you.
Yeah, it's like, here's a mansion for $5.
They really are. I mean, a lot
$5
of
Airbnb in
incredible
Joshua Tree.
houses up there. I prefer Pioneer Town. It's
Don't
cool.
eat anything for a night before, please. Hey guys, I want to tell you about our friends at Manscaped. Listen, as a guy who's furry, all right, I need every inch I can get. And thank you to Manscaped for letting me see territory I didn't even know I had. Let me tell you about Manscaped. It's a smooth sack summer. Now the fur is gone. Smooth sack summer. Yeah, not the fur is gone. That's right. When you're playing in the summer sun, make sure you scaped it from the pubes to the bum. Okay, that's right. This summer, to keep your balls cool while you're still looking hot with Manscaped. The leaders in below the waist grooming are making sure we all have a ball this summer by giving our pants partners everything they need to stay fresh. Dive headfirst into smooth sack summer. Now it's gone. Talking about a smooth sack summer by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with our code TINFOIL.
Have you ever nicked your balls while manscaping, Sam?
Yeah.
It's the worst, right? Well,
it's the worst. XG was telling me about he almost took a machete to his nuts one time. He was bleeding out.
I ended up at the ER.
Yeah. Dude, he tried to give himself mouth to mouth and he couldn't. He was about to die.
What?
He was about to give
It's the
himself
worst.
mouth
That will
to
never happen to you with Manscaped. The Manscaped Performance Package 4.0 has everything you need to prepare that summer bod. They have built the ultimate grooming bundle for your summer grooming. Their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. If only XG had this. The Lawnmower 4.0 has a 7,000 RPM motor, a new multi-function on-off switch that can engage a travel lock, and gives you the ability to turn the 4,000K LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave.
Yeah, dude, you can make a rave on your nuts. That's what they're talking about.
No, you need it when you're going back door. You know, you're going around the back. You need the lights.
Yeah, dude, and I like to flash out and go.
What was it? What did the guests say today? The deeper you dig, the darker it gets. You know, so
Yeah,
you got-
that's so true,
You
bro.
need that
That's
light,
so
dude.
true.
Did I mention this trimmer is waterproof too? Beach, lake, or shower, this razor will devour even the strongest pubes.
Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxer and Shed Travel Bag, okay?
Wow.
Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code TINFOIL at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code TINFOIL at manscaped.com. It's a smooth sack summer, boys. Get on board or get left behind. And if you do get left behind, you can shave that behind down too with your manscaped.com.
So he starts going out into the desert, and he said that it feels like almost like the cloak figures where it was physical but not physical. That's what he's feeling on his body. Like there's like a resistance, and he's running, and that's when he starts invoking the name of Jesus. I think he was saying, Jesus walks with me. I started making notes, and I don't know why I make notes because I never follow him and I always lose track of everything. But he says, Jesus guides me. I walk with Jesus. He said that a lot during the interview. And as he was saying this, he was able to kind of get further along, and he looks back and he sees like headlights coming at him, like it was like ATVs or something.
Oh my God.
So he's running out into the desert. He starts feeling this stuff all over his body. And then he says the ground opens up. And
What?
he's like, I didn't fall, but it was like the ground just opened up. And these grayish black hands started coming out of the ground, grabbing him.
What, dude?
And he doesn't feel like whatever happened there, he doesn't feel like it was actually like he was ever gonna get pulled down or something. Like, I mean, that's hindsight speaking, but that's how he feels. But he said the ground opens up, these hands come out, they start pulling at him and grabbing him. And then he said that he gets lifted off the ground, and I guess something possessed him, because he said a voice came out of him and started speaking that was in a language he didn't recognize. And that's not the first time he heard that night. Later or earlier in that night, I believe it was the cloaked figures he heard speaking in an unknown language. And so he has this happen to him, and he said that it was almost like contorting his body. Like if the way he said it, it made me feel like if nothing changed, it was going to start snapping his arms and his legs. And in that moment, the only thing he could do, because he couldn't speak, is he tried making the sign of the cross on his chest, and he was like barely able to do that. And as he was able to do that, it started dropping him and letting him go. And then as he was able to continue to run, he kept saying the same phrase, Jesus walks with me, Jesus guides me, or whatever that was. And these ATVs or whatever are coming still. He said that so he started seeing like these campfires popping up as he's pushing through whatever he's trying to push through. And he feels like it was them almost projecting campfires to make him run towards them. Like almost like, oh, let me go to safety. Let me find these people over here and tell them that these crazy people are after me. So he doesn't do that. He just keeps going and invoking the name of Jesus. And as he's doing this, he said a triangle appears underneath him. Whoa. On fire. And he just keeps going. Like he's at the point where he's like almost like he's like, I don't care what the freak's going on. I just got to keep going. And the only thing he's doing is keeps evoking the name of Jesus as he's going and pushing through whatever. I hesitate to say force field because I know that's this whole thing's far-fetched for people to believe, but it's like as soon as I say force field, they're thinking, oh, this guy's talking Star Wars or something.
Star Trek, bro. Star Trek. Force field's up soon.
I mean, those yellow eye guys with the capes sure do sound like Jawas. You know? You just see their yellow eyes looking up.
So he said that he comes across these barbed wires out in the middle of the desert. He said some of the barbed wires are like ankle height and some were like neck height. And he was dodging these barbed wires as he was pushing through. He basically hits a road. And when he hits this road, everything stops. Before he hits this road, when I want to say this as well. Oh my God, I missed the. Oh my God. All right, let me rewind.
Okay. Rewind.
I forgot an amazing. I knew I was forgetting a part of the story that's amazing. Oh, shoot. So when he was in that tent and he walks out with his the guy who brought him, Mark, and this other guy.
Okay.
They go back in the tent. He's standing there. What made him run towards other vehicles looking for shelter was the tent that he came out of shoots up into the sky.
What?
People fly up into the sky.
What?
And a green portal opens up underneath it. I knew I was forgetting. It's the name of this episode is Desert Portal Death Cult, and I forgot the most important part. So when this happens, he has his phone in his hand at this moment. So he lifts up his phone because he's like, I got to take a picture of this. Mm-hmm. And his phone screen is glitching. Like it's just like a glitch. It's not working. Huh. And the reason why I bring this up is because his phone was glitching this whole time. As he was trying to push through and stuff, he was trying to see if he could get reception to call for help or whatever. And his phone was glitching, and the time that it was frozen on, which I don't think it froze on that time, but it was flashing this time, was 11:11, and that's a number that pops up a lot with gematria and
yeah.
What was his name? Garrett King, right? Yeah. So, anyways, so he hits the road, everything stops, and his phone's working, and so he keeps going, and he's hiking down this road. Nobody's stopping. He said nobody's going to stop in Joshua Tree to help a random hitchhiker. I guess it's a culty area. After I talked to a lot of people, makes sense. It seems like there's a lot of cult stuff going on there. Even at 29 Palms military base, they tell the people who get stationed there the scoop locally, and they're like, "There's a lot of cults in this area, so don't mess with locals." Wow.
Well, dude, like Corey and Chad, the Smash Brothers. They talk about how Scientology has some big bunker out towards where they live, and you'll drive by and you'll see people like trying to crawl out of over fucking fences and shit.
They're serious? That's so funny. Wow.
Yeah, bro.
That's crazy.
That shit's nuts. I mean, there's areas where they tell you do not pick up hitchhikers here. Because
that's pretty much everywhere.
Well, because there is a prison there, and that's if you see a hitchhiker, it's probably someone who just escaped prison.
Oh, you're so fucked.
Yeah, I'm not helping anybody like
Yeah,
that.
no.
But then I'm like, abundance, help them. Then it's a fucking green-eyed demon with a
Yeah.
racer face.
No thanks. No thanks. So he runs down the road and he's basically running through the night. He gets to a hospital. His phone's pretty much, his phone is dead at this point. And he gets into a hospital waiting room and he just tells him, that he needed to charge his phone. He sits there for a couple hours, charges his phone, calls a taxi. And the taxi, I guess what he said was like $500 or something to come out and get him from Joshua Tree. And he tells the taxi driver what he just went through. And the taxi driver goes, "Yep, I hear that story a lot out here." And I'm just like, what the heck, man?
Crazy.
So he goes through this whole experience, and this guy Mark tried finding him. Called him the next day, but didn't call him in the morning. Called him in like the afternoon or evening, and he didn't answer the phone. And Mark accidentally left a voicemail on his phone, and he said something. But I remember him saying that he heard them talking about what happened the night before, and saying that they hope James doesn't tell anybody. And so then Mark called the next day. He answers the phone. He's like, "Hey, bud, how'd you get home?" And he's like, "Oh, I just called a buddy and had my buddy pick me up." And then Mark just pretty much hung up on him. And then like a few days later, same phone call, and he tells Mark the same thing. And because Mark asked again, "How'd you get home?" So Mark was basically saying like, "Hey, we have some unfinished business." But so that whole experience happened.
Does he go, hey, Mark? Hey, well, what was going on with the eraser face and the floating dudes over the fire pit of the Pentagon, the pentagram? Can we talk about this, man? What's up with these gray hands coming out of the earth? How about that, Mark? How about you stop asking me how I got home and you start telling me what's up with the vampire sucking blood at your party?
There's no way me and Sam are questioning you if you took us somewhere like that. Me and
Johnny, if you ever took me one of those, that'd be question number one. Hey, man, you want a podcast today? No, I don't want a podcast today. I want you to tell me how you fucking almost got my neck sucked by energy vampires.
So crazy, dude. And I just looked up on, I just kind of was Googling Joshua Tree, like cult stuff. And the first thing that comes up is this Reddit post by a guy. And actually your podcast gets mentioned. It's like, "Hey, dude, you should listen to this episode of the Confessionals." But this guy says, "Monday night, me and my girlfriend were camping in Hidden Valley Campground. It was around 8 p.m. and pitch black when we heard rhythmic chanting in some language we had never heard before. There was a leader who would yell a sentence in that language or tongue. The chanting continued for around 45 minutes with increasing intensity. Then tribal-sounding music played. We went inside my camper to climb on the roof to see what was going on at the site. As we got up, we heard the leader start chanting 'murder,' and others repeating it back. Murder was yelled at least 15 times in unison. After that, we packed up and started driving away.
Wrap it up!
As we passed to leave, a man in a costume of some sort jumped out of the darkness and started slamming his truck with his hands. And they just got the fuck out of there. But isn't that crazy? Like, apparently, if you look, there's like on Google, there's a whole litany of people who've had bizarre experiences in Joshua Tree like that.
Yes.
So the fact you brought up the seance, he said that when he was running from the cloaked entities around the pentagram, he noticed that the music, because when that tent went in the air, the music kept going. He noticed that the music changed to a more seance sounding type music. And so it kind of goes with what you're saying anyways.
To me, it makes no sense how like they're in Joshua Tree and they wear cloaks. It gets hot as fuck over there. They like to wear black. It's like, I should have picked somewhere else. There's no desert.
Well, it's nighttime though, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so, but still, it's like, it's hot. Other than that, nighttime, it's hot in the Joshua Tree.
Well, you know what, dude? This just fits into like my whole understanding of why all this shit happens in nature and not in like the middle of a metropolis, right?
What do you mean by that?
Like all this missing 411 stuff. Yeah. Happens deep in the forest. This cult stuff happens in the desert. It's just like there's just so much going on here. I don't know why, but maybe it's electromagnetic fields and stuff like that, the energy grids and the high wires and all that stuff that just don't allow this paranormal and weird shit to happen. Obviously, cult stuff, it's easier to do like crazy shit when nobody's around. but like the paranormal, it's like, why isn't Compton haunted? Like everybody dies out there. Why isn't haunted? Just like some weird shit going on out there. Like, but it's like, it's because I just think there's less electromagnetic, energy from the electric grid, that just this stuff is allowed to like thrive and happen out there. I don't know, man. It's kind of weird.
I think it's a thinning of the veil type situation. I think that there are certain areas that the veil is thinner between this and other realms.
Yeah.
Last time I was on the show, I talked about the book, and everybody wants to know the name of the book. And
Yes, I was going to ask you, what's the name of that book, dude?
No, it's not happening. The author really wants to divorce themselves from this whole situation, and I because the author's been such a great resource for me, I wouldn't backstab the author that way. And I know that means that people are going to call me a liar because I'm not producing the book, and it is what it is. But I think that from that story, I think everybody can understand that, yes, I believe there are other realms, and we as human and entities are active in those realms. But I think that on this side, I think we do things that can thin a veil over time. And so like there's areas like Joshua Tree, Bridgewater Triangle in Massachusetts, the LBL here in Tennessee and Kentucky, and New Orleans. And so I wanted to bring up New Orleans because you mentioned about how it doesn't happen in cities, but New Orleans is a city and it does happen there. And I think it's because of the history between human beings and doing ritualistic things over a long period of time in specific locations. I think it wears down whatever this veil is, and it's thinner.
You are 100% correct. That's why I've been saying forever that some places are more haunted than others in this haunted house that we live in. And that's why I just had this conversation on Zero. I had a wonderful guest on Zero. And we were just talking about the latest Zero. It's for free. You can go listen to it on Rockfin. That we were discussing, she was part of like some political activist stuff back in her youth, and she just realized it never really was going anywhere. And I was like, yeah, 100%, because you don't beat the game. You have to. Excuse me. I always get wrong at first. The way you change the game is by beating the game. You can't march. You can't like fucking riot your way to change. That's not how you make change. Because the key to everything, and I brought up my great grandfather who got out of Armenia during the genocide. Like, he didn't stay there like, we're going to change everything. He's like, nope, this area is haunted. I got to get out of here. And you move to somewhere else. You don't go there and try to change. The key is to dominate and get out of this haunted area. So long story short, yes, there are places on this planet and even this country that are more haunted than others. And all the activism in the world isn't going to change that. It's like that for a reason. Now, it may at some point flip and then, suddenly Detroit's back to being nice, right? And it's doing well. But it will eventually revert back down to it because that is that area. I'm just telling you, man, if you look at the Middle East, you look at where all these places, there's so much violence and death and terror. That's been like that forever. Forever. It's always been like that. It never fucking changes because that's just that area. That's the key is to get to San Diego. That's my point. That's the greatest place on the planet. That's where so I agree with you, man, that like New Orleans is probably like has paranormal activity because people have been engaging in that for centuries.
But there's also some places like let's just say like super rich places that have no paranormal activity because nobody's fucked with it there, right? As well, where you would say like the veil's thick.
Yeah, I would say that, like La Jolla, right?
Yeah, like there's nothing's really going on there, right? There's no paranormal activity in general.
I'm not saying there's not paranormal activity.
Yeah, like the hills though. I feel like there's a ton of darkness
but
in the hills.
It's not
hills.
like demonic in my humble. Maybe I'm wrong.
Can there be good things about the veil being thin though? Can we use those for positive? For positive reasons too? Is that?
I think so. Yeah, I think that the location, we're talking about amount of activity. So yes, haunting things can happen a lot of places, but when you start seeing a collection of a ton of activity in specific areas, a thinning of the veil. Now, Now, what you meant about what you asked about the positive thing, it's interesting because I believe that the negative comes from something that could have been good. And I think that we have in ancient texts like the Bible, in Scripture, we have instances where people, for lack of better terms, have been involved in some kind of portal situation where the veil was thinner. They had an encounter with God, and and it was a very positive thing. But what we see as time goes on throughout the generations, when you're talking about the spiritual battles, it seems like whatever God does, the enemy wants to mimic, Satan wants to mimic. And so we see that throughout all of creation, that it's like a mirror image. And so I believe that, yes, we have a lot of negative things happening with these portal locations, these veils being thin, but I don't think that a thin veil means bad always. I think that it's something that God could use for good. And I always use the example of Genesis 28, Jacob's ladder. And just to summarize it for people, Jacob, he lays his head on a rock, it says, and he goes to sleep. He has this, what you would think off the top of your head as a dream. And he had in this dream or vision, he sees a staircase going to heaven, and he says that angels are going up and down. And that's really interesting in itself. Like, I could go off on an angel talk sometime, because I think angels are way sometimes overrated, but also undervalued. And the fact that they're going up and then coming down tells me, and there's other patterns throughout the Scripture for this, but it tells me that angels are here serving us, and they go to heaven to check in, and then they come back to do their job. But anyways, he sees this, and it's unclear whether he goes up the staircase or maybe he's at the bottom of the staircase and God's at the top, but he has this interaction with God. And when he opens his eyes and he sits up, he says, and I have it somewhere here because I had a feeling I was going to wind up going down here. Okay, so it says here in Genesis 28:17, but he was also afraid and said, "What an awesome place this is." This is when he wakes up. It is none other than the house of God, the very gateway to heaven. And so, like, gateway, portal, we explored this on my show not too long ago about how the term gateway is often used for a spiritual term, and we could, maybe replace that for the idea of portal. But it's a thinning of the veil location, and he actually named that area based off of his experience and the fact that it is a gateway to heaven. So, and then I think in 2 Kings, there's mention about that very location and some kind of gateway talk. I can't remember off the top of my head, but anyways, circle back around to what you were saying. I don't think that the thinning of a veil is a bad thing if it was designed to be thin to begin with. But I think that what we do on this end can thin the veil like a tire. Like if you're on your car, you drive that thing 50, 60,000 miles, the tread gets thinner and thinner.
Yeah. I asked that because those places you mentioned, like New Orleans and Joshua Tree, whenever I visit those places, I feel a sort of an extra kind of energy. I mean, it can be invigorating to be in those places. And I wonder, if there's something that you can actually gain from being in those places also.
I mean, I gain really good content, So.
Yeah. It works for you, doesn't it?
I mean, I live where one of those veils is thinner. I mean, I didn't know it when I moved here to East Tennessee, but East Tennessee is a thin veil. Tons. And I love it.
What do you think was going on there in Joshua Tree? Like when you hear him say those things, can you say what you think was happening?
I think what was happening is what he described. In all honesty, I don't think
that's. It's a bloodthirsty cult. Is that what we're talking about?
Oh yeah. So
Is it humans? Is it all humans there?
I think it's humans inviting other things in, and I think so. Let me tell you what happened. Let me tell you what I think happened. He said about going into the porta potty, right? Yeah. Sometimes I call it the porta potty portal.
I've been there at raves. You go in there and then the drugs hit you, and then you're like, "Fuck, I'm somewhere else."
Well, you know, they say every time you come out of the shower, you're in another dimension.
Who says that?
Whoa, yeah.
I've heard that a lot.
Really?
That different reality. Every time you shower and you step out, you're in a different reality.
Is it like kind of like cleaning the old you off?
Yeah, along the lines of that. But you know what's very interesting too is, you know, you're talking about thinning the veil. You know, somebody's talked about like the hurting of children too is a way to kind of get through the veil to the other side. It's like this weird kind of moment of where like the veil is kind of allows people to get to higher dimensions and stuff like that.
Children are already closer to that.
Yeah,
to that side.
something along. I know we've had past guests talk about that. There's something about children and connections to God that's why they hurt children.
Mm. Well, I mean, we know that God looks fondly on the children. In fact, Jesus himself said, "If any of one of you lead these children astray, it's better for you to be dead than do so." So like it's one of those things where, you know, I take that to heart. And when I see the culture the way it is and stuff, you know, I'm like, man, it's a lot of people lining up on the wrong side of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you were saying about what was going on when he stepped into the porta potty portal.
The porta potty portal.
Porta potty portal.
So I think that through talking with a lot of people, I think that there's a lot of ways to access the other side, the other realm. And I don't think there's just one realm, but I think there's a lot of ways to do that. And one way, and I talk about this, I call it the mind portal. And I bring this up because it's done sometimes through the dream state. And I think that there's a bridge from this realm to another. And it's not just an instantaneous transformation where you go from one place to another instantaneously. There's a process, and you find yourself in this in-between place, this what I call the bridge. I don't know what else to call it. And I think that's what happened with James. I think just like some people are experiencing this bridge through the dream state, I think James I don't think the porta potty had anything to do with it other than the fact that it just was timing. He experienced the bridge where he wasn't in another realm, but he wasn't in this realm either. And I think that when he came out of that porta potty and saw so many different people there that weren't there before, I think he was now on the bridge. And that's where all the activity happened, on the bridge, not in the other realm, not in this realm, but on the bridge between. And when he was trying to escape and push through, he could remember when he was saying like it was like something was holding him back. Yeah. Like it was like, I think that he was literally trying to physically push through something that wasn't entirely physical. And there was a real spiritual component to it. And, you know, him calling out on the name of Jesus and stuff. I mean, we hear that a lot, obviously, you know. And so I think that what happened here was this was a very detailed story about somebody's personal experience on the bridge between this realm and another realm. And he's not the only one. After this interview aired, there was another guy that contacted me and sent me his experience. And he sent me news clippings, not clippings, videos of the news of him where they were looking for him out in Joshua Tree. I don't know when this was, but he had a rough time. I think his mom had died and he was really close to her. And he went out to Joshua Tree for a hike or camping or something for the weekend. And he just goes missing. And for days, I think it was like 4 or 5 days he was missing out there. And they couldn't find him anywhere. And then he just pops back up and he's there and they found him. And they're like, where were you? And the thing is, like, he said he can't tell me where he was. He doesn't know where he was. He remembers he was in Joshua Tree, and then all of a sudden he was in Joshua Tree, but he wasn't in Joshua Tree. It was like different. It was almost like Stranger Things, the Upside Down.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking.
Are you talking about Evans?
Yeah. What?
Are you talking about this person? There was a missing person called Evans. Was it him?
Tremel Evans. XG just looked up.
No.
This is a different guy.
Yeah, this is a different guy, but this is a very common theme that's happening out there. So there's probably a lot of people that I've never even talked to. So, like, because he said that, you know, he doesn't know where he was, but while he was there in this other place, this what I'm calling the bridge, he said he saw cloaked figures coming up to him and saying words to him that he didn't understand. And so I tried getting him on my show, and he said he would come on the show. And then after we tried scheduling it, he just kind of ghosted me. He's just gone. He's not talking to me. So I don't know. But anyways, he did send the like video of, the news saying, this man in Joshua Tree is missing, blah, blah, blah. So there's that. But then there's also this other guy, James, heard this episode, and he contacted me because when he was listening to it, it made him stop in his tracks because it was almost identical to what he experienced in a sense. He was in the military on 29 Palms, and he was in the Marines, and he was in charge of guys who were getting kicked out of the military, but they weren't out yet. They were kind of like in this holding period, and he was in charge of watching over these guys. So they weren't the best of guys. And the one guy he said was really crazy and weird, and there's a lot of details to it. But the main thing that I would say is, one, the guy didn't show up on base one day, so him and a couple other soldiers went out to pick him up at where the guy was staying. And he was living in a house with a bunch of other people that were calling him father, and he was calling them his children. And he asked this guy if he would take him out to Joshua Tree one weekend for a party. And he said he took him out to Joshua Tree, and where he dropped him off, the guy's like, "You can stay if you want." And he's like, but he said where he dropped him off at and stuff, he said there was tons of tents, RVs. It looked like it was going to be a big rave. And the way the James in the first story described it, this James said it sounded just like what he dropped him off at. Well, here's the thing. I had the exact location where this happened because James did take pictures that weekend before things went crazy, and it was on his iPhone, and we were able to pull the coordinates off the pictures. So I know exactly where this happened. I send the location to this other guy who's telling me that he took a guy out to a party in the desert. I said, "Is this general area?" He's like, "That's exactly where I took him." And so I know that this is a repeated location. And I also know that I'm pretty sure I know when they do this because it's a religious holiday, Easter. And this happened on Easter weekend for James. And this other guy is telling me, said that he doesn't remember exactly when it was, but he knows it was in the first half of the year on an extended weekend. And so I'm fairly certain that this is the Easter weekend. Not to mention I found, or James had found a document that he shared with me that I don't know if it was CIA or whatever, but it was some kind of alphabet agency that was an unclassified document. And it lists these different dates and rituals that take place throughout the year. And the one is Easter weekend. The sacrifice could be male or female or child. And it was labeled as a satanic event. And it was a couple other things. I don't have it on me right now. I have it somewhere in my files. But through those different things, especially the second guy confirming that he took a guy to the exact same location, I'm pretty sure I know that this happens every year at the same location again.
Now I'm going to sound like a stupid American, but is Joshua Tree California or yeah. So it's California. So
it's not far from you.
So where did E-Zone have his weird shit happen?
I was on the way back from Vegas.
Okay. Wasn't that by 29 Palms and stuff like that? Oh, E-Zone got like molested by demons or something like that.
He got in a car accident.
I want
like
to talk
a
to
picture
him.
or something like that.
Yeah, he got felt up.
Wait, what now? He got in a car accident and what?
He got in a car accident, and then he says that he woke up and there was some Mexicans.
What do you mean he woke up? He got knocked out?
No, yeah. He was like kind of like he went unconscious for a little bit, woke back up, and then he said some Mexicans were there. And he says that they're the ones who called 911 on some random phone he didn't have, and it was in the middle of the road. He had a whole episode about it, but it was weird.
Yeah, he came on to talk voodoo and stuff like that.
I don't remember.
So, but we also know that California has a lot of occult in it.
Yeah.
This is where Jack Parsons was doing all of his dark arts. This is where L. Ron Hubbard infiltrated his small group on behalf of the Navy intelligence. So all this stuff totally makes sense that there's some epicenters of Hollywood and all the occult stuff.
It's just north of Palm Springs where
Yeah.
all the Hollywood people go and
Yeah.
vacation. Yeah.
No, and I mean, everyone knows that those houses, those Airbnbs, people rent them and just do drugs in them. They go do and look at the stars and go hang out. So
The stars are amazing in the desert, though. It's incredible
it's
seeing the stars
crazy,
in the desert.
bro. This whole thing is fucking nuts.
Do you think that they have, like, obviously, like, pimps
What?
trying to find people to join the cult?
Well, you know, it's so funny.
yeah.
It's so funny, Tony. I don't know if you know this, but the CIA decides to run radio ads on some of my podcasts. It's so fucking weird. It's like you obviously aren't doing any research on the podcast that you're advertising on. Or are they? But what's very interesting is like it's an ad for women. It's an ad to recruit
they're not, then you're
women.
right,
Yeah, they're doing Welcome to Punch Drunk Sports. Here's an ad for the CIA looking for chicks.
Our 1%
all
female
three of
audience.
you that listen to the
See,
show.
like, shouldn't the CIA just be looking for the best of the best? Doesn't matter what the fucking
Well, not
gender
if you're
are.
looking for MK Ultra sex kittens.
True.
They're
That's
looking
why-
for people who are easily led. That's what they're looking for.
They're looking for people that they can manipulate.
Imagine how stupid you got to be to call. Dude, I heard.
Hey, I'm part of the swarm. I heard you guys are hiring. But
I know a lot about him. They talk about him on the podcast all the time.
yeah, I mean, it's just it's kind of crazy that you know because like Obama's mom was an MK Ultra sex kitten. So the answer to your question is yeah, they 100% send out not just. I mean, wasn't that the whole premise of Get Out? Is they basically send out hot white chicks?
Yeah, totally.
And then next thing you know, they flip them. Right? I mean, like that is the whole story. Like Courtney Love, she was an MK sex kid. She was sent into Seattle to bring drugs to everybody, to give everybody basically hooked on heroin.
See, like, I'm wondering if that guy's friend was if that was the first friend he ever brought into the cult.
What are you talking? Like he was
The friend that brought him in. The friend that
Why would you wonder that?
I don't know if it first guy, he was third guy, he brought him into the call where he was like, oh, dude, maybe
Was
this
he
guy.
like his training wheels?
I don't know.
Like his
What do you mean? Why are you saying that? Because
why
you
are
think he
you
didn't do
saying
a good
that?
job or something?
No, I'm wondering if he's you know how his friend brought him into into that party? I'm wondering if that was the first friend he ever tried to make him join the cult.
Why do you think that?
I'm wondering. I don't know. I was like, first one,
Such a-
second
You're
one,
supposed to know, dude.
10th one. It might be the third homie he brought in. Be like, okay, I'm good at this. I know how to pick them out.
You get your green belt if you bring in three homies.
Maybe.
Yeah, dude, I think
Yeah,
it's
they turn you into a vampire finally. If
Yeah,
you, if you
I
bring
think
in
it's
100
interesting.
people.
I think these all the
Yeah, what if he's like the familiar for the you know the vampires need familiars. There's people that like round up prey for them to suck on. What if that?
yeah,
maybe-
100. That's exactly what these
Yeah.
guys do. It's exactly what these guys do.
At least that's what they tell me on What We Do in the Shadows. That's a hilarious show, by the way.
Yeah,
Highly recommend it.
that's exactly what they do. They use them to lure people in. And
But what number was it? That's what we know.
Yeah, what a piece of shit you got to be to just keep luring people in.
yeah, but that's your job.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but what do you get? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like do you get like belts? Like, oh, dude, I brought 10 people in. Am I like black
Was it
belt
a
now?
Ponzi scheme? Like you bring in people, then they bring in people.
Well, I mean, obviously they're getting some kind of like long life play, or you know, some kind of like they get lots of chicks, something like that.
What is how have you yourself seen things undeniably, Tony, that you're like, this is fucking insane. I just saw this. Basically, my whole premise of what I believe in has been verified.
In a sense, at times, I wouldn't say anything like that's what I just shared. I'm on the hunt for something like that, but
Do you think it's because you have electrical equipment with you? Do you ever think that maybe this is why that you haven't been able to, you know, have breakfast with Dogman? I mean,
No, because other people have had experiences with equipment on them as well. I think that for me personally, I think that everything happens in its own timing, and I really believe that I have a lot of spiritual protection around me, and I do think this is a spiritual thing. And I have experienced things though, but when I experience things, I believe that's because that's in that moment is a defining moment, and I'm supposed to experience it. I don't know if I shared this on the show last time I was on and stuff, but when I was coming out with my first film, Expedition Dogman, the whole week leading up to it, we had tons of just conversation about Dogman and what it is and all that stuff. And I feel like almost like by giving it a ton of attention, I almost conjured it into my own house. And
whoa,
my wife and I, the night before the release, were in my studio at the old house in Pennsylvania, and we were talking about things and just kind of wrapping stuff up. It was about 11 o'clock at night. We go upstairs in the kitchen, and the hardwood floor is covering the entire downstairs. Every room downstairs is hardwood floor. Everything upstairs and the stairs themselves are carpet. And we're standing there, and all of a sudden we hear something heavy and bipedal walking, and the nails are clacking on the floor. And I felt it and heard it, but I said to her, "Did you hear that?" And she's like, "I felt that." And it was something not visible, but at the same time, it was physical because we could feel the vibration on the floor of something walking bipedally and the nails just clacking on the floor. And that kind of goes along with this whole mysterious Dogman topic. These things are coming through portals. I've talked to people that have suggested such things, and then there's you guys. You're familiar with Shane Cashman, right? From Tim Pool.
Yeah. He's supposed to come on Conspiracy Social Club.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He is awesome. He's been on the show.
Perfect. I knew that. I'd listen to every episode.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
He had told me that he was talking to a witch one time that was training in a school of mystery, and they were learning how to open portals. And at one point, they opened a portal, and an upright walking dog came through. And that kind of goes along with like the thing of the veil locations. Like you can conjure these things by opening portals, and you can also do things on a spiritual level over time that can open up portals. Here in East Tennessee, we have Oak Ridge, which has a particle accelerator like CERN, and they fire that bad boy up, and weird things happen. We had, I don't want to say we had. I made some friends when I came here. And I have some friends that work at Oak Ridge. I have some friends that work within security or have worked within security at Oak Ridge. And these guys are like some bad dudes. Like like you don't just like apply to be at Oak Ridge for security. Like they
for those who aren't familiar with it, like Xavier Guerrero, what is Oak Ridge?
Yeah, Oak Ridge is where they developed the atomic bomb, and it's DOD. I mean, it's ground zero for it. They do all these weird experiments there. In 2019, one of the scientists retracted it, saying she was trying to joke and be funny, but scientists aren't funny. She said that they were going to be pursuing opening portals at Oak Ridge. And then I have multiple security at different times, not at the same time, tell me that during their training, they're told about when they first opened a portal at Oak Ridge and what came through.
Oh my God, what came through?
What I'm told is that when they were trying to open a portal and they were first successful, what came through was such a ungodly sound that it left everybody in the room running for their life. And I was told when it first happened, when I say first happened, means when I first heard about this, I was talking to a guy and we were just kind of casual talking. I had just moved here. He didn't know who the heck I was. And I was just like, the stars have aligned. Like, this guy has no idea who I am, and he's telling me this crap. But I asked him what he did over there at Oak Ridge, and he said security. I said, "Oh, what are you securing over there and stuff?" And I was just being curious. And he says some things, and he's like, "And what comes through portals?" And I looked at him, I just kind of smirked, and I was like, "Portals?" And he's just like, "Yeah." And it was at a party, and he had some in him, and I was like, he's just drunk. He doesn't, it is what it is. And I wound up seeing this guy later on at a different party, and I asked him about it, and he's like, "No, I really meant that. Like, that's what we're told." And so, and then I came across somebody else who told me the same thing. So weird things are happening at Oak Ridge that could lead to weird things happening in this area. When they were building Oak Ridge, I was told that the old timers in this area were seeing a white Bigfoot running around. Nobody knew that they were building Oak Ridge when they built it. That's why they called it the Secret City, because nobody knew it existed until they wanted you to know it existed. But around that time of the construction, these farmers that were around here were seeing this giant white beast running around. Throughout the generations, this has been an area now that has been picking up in activity up until like last week. Last week, there's a pizza shop here called Legends and Lore, and Eddie in there runs the shop, and he gets people coming in because his shop's called Legends and Lore. It's decked out with a bunch of Bigfoot and Dogman stuff. He has my logo of the show on his wall. I think that's pretty cool. He gets people coming in there to share stories. So they get pizza and they're like, hey, I saw this. Well, he said that he had gotten a report that 10 days prior, somebody had saw a Dogman in that area. And then last Wednesday, so after he posted that, then I think it was like a day or two later, last Wednesday, my friend Bryan, who I'm name dropping, but it is what it is. He runs a YouTube channel called Black Mass Paranormal. And he gets a report from an old married couple that they said on Wednesday night, it was late at night, they were driving down the road in the same area that this Dogman sighting was seen 10 days prior. And they saw an upright walking dog with glowing yellow eyes off the side of the road. When they approached, it took off. So Bryan, this is what he does. He's a retired vet, and so he hunts monsters. And so he's a great, that's who I'm actually going to hunt monsters with in portals when I'm done with you guys. I'm going out to the mountains to hunt a portal down. Impossible pyramid ruins, which is really cool. So him and I were talking about this, and he said, now this is the next day, Thursday. He said, I'm going out to the location today. And I was like, man, I wish I could come with you, but both my kids had strep throat. And so I go home, he gets another guy to go with him. They have a Dogman encounter that night. He said he didn't see it. They were driving down the road. He was reloading his camera, and the guy driving sees this thing on the side of the road, left speechless. He spins the truck around, and this thing darts off into the woods. So this is like a hotbed for activity right now. What's interesting about this is last Friday, I go down to that area where the pizza shop is, mind you, and I'm having pizza. I had a guy in town. He was passing through, and I took him out for dinner. And Eddie comes out and he sits down and talks with us. And I tell Eddie this whole thing I just shared with you. And then he adds some more information. He says that recently he's had two separate people within a few days apart come into his shop and say that they saw in the same area this Dogman sighting is happening. The first person said that they were driving down the road. It was late at night, and they saw a cloaked figure standing off the side of the road holding a staff.
What?
And they drove by, and as they drove by, the face was blue. So a few days later, somebody else comes into his shop and says that they were driving down the road in that area. They saw a cloaked figure standing off the side of the road holding a staff. As they approached the cloaked figure, it raises its hand in the air, slams the staff on the ground, flash of light, it disappears. And so this is being relayed to Eddie, the pizza shop owner, and this is all the area that we're seeing the Dogman activity. To take this and relay it back to Joshua Tree, if you don't mind, that we saw in that story the cloaked figures, right? But there's a guy out there in Joshua Tree area. Him and I were supposed to interview a couple weeks ago. He didn't show up for the interview. The person that connected me to him filled me in that some bad things are happening with this guy, and I'll tell you what's going on.
No.
He runs a mechanic shop. He's a mechanic. He has his own shop. I've narrowed down that I believe he's out in the Joshua Tree area. Because he's out in the desert area. He talks about a military base being around and having a small airport. That sounds like 29 Palms to me.
Yeah.
So this guy starts seeing these figures coming into his shop area, his property, and taking things. And he thought it was people. And so he chases after them, and he sees that it's not people. It's something else. It's an upright walking dog. And so he runs, he gets back to his shop, and this is a repetitive thing. This starts happening a lot. And he starts documenting his experiences and starts sharing with people on the internet. And he says that these things are coming in, stealing stuff off his property, but that's like almost minor compared to his other claims, because he says that he has seen that there's an uptick in police, or I haven't talked to him, so I might have this detail wrong. There's an uptick in official vehicles, let's put it that way, vehicles bringing homeless people out to his area and releasing them. And he believes that they're feeding the homeless people to these creatures. And he started saying this on the internet. He just got raided. I'm sorry, raided is the wrong word. He just got visited by 2 or 3 blacked out vehicles to his house.
So
They threaten him and his family. His wife's there. His kids are there. They tell him, you will stop talking about this, or else we're going to file federal charges against you.
What?
They didn't say what the federal charges were going to be. So we don't know if it's related to the topic or if they're going to make something up on him. But they said they'll charge him with federal crimes. And through this ordeal, he asked that he's talking to them about this whole thing, and they said that they are aware of the creatures and there's nothing they can do about them. And these guys leave. His wife leaves him. I don't know if I can't say his wife left him, because apparently they split up after this. She's had enough, kind of thing. And so he right now is living at his shop. And so when I was supposed to interview with him is when this all happened a few weeks ago. And so he's not talking to me. He hasn't returned my phone calls. And the only way I know about this is through the mutual connection. But yeah, so I say that story because we have more Dogmen. Oh, and the officials that are talking to him said that there's a lot of them. And he's like, what do you mean? Like, 50? And he's like, more in the hundreds. Damn. And so
that's a lot to feed.
Oh yeah, exactly. Right. It's a lot of kids to feed. So we have a lot of Dogmen out there, right? We have the thinning of the veil, the portal location, just like here in Tennessee. And what's interesting about this is I just found out this morning that Eddie also says that he sees these cloaked figures in the trees around this area. I think around his property. And so I don't know what the story is behind it, but my ears perked up because, again, now there's more cloaked figures, not to mention with the Joshua Tree story, but also what I'm hearing here in Tennessee in these areas where people are seeing these Dogmen, these cloaked figures popping up. And apparently Eddie is saying that these cloaked figures have staffs as well. So 2 different Eddies, by the way. There's Eddie in California, Eddie here in Tennessee.
And we have Eddie Bravo, so there's 3 Eddies.
Yeah, it's just a lot of Eddies.
A lot of Eddies.
But so there's a lot of interesting connections to this stuff. And like I mentioned to you before, like the more I'm doing this stuff, especially with the story I shared with you guys last time, that story just opened my brain up and to all these different possibilities. I started connecting puzzle pieces, and I'm still doing that. Another weird connection. This is interesting. Years ago, I think it was either episode 63 or episode 67 in the 60s of my show early on. I interviewed a guy named Zach King, and basically his story is he was a high wizard, and he was paid to go and cast spells for elites, powerful people. And he said that on that interview, I think he said there's at any time there's like 3 to 4 high wizards in the world that their job is to go do these things. Like he wouldn't name drop, but he suggested certain types of people that he worked for at times. But these high wizards, he said, you'll know if you see one what they are because, and he used this is really, really cool actually. He said that the music video by Pink back in the day, Just Like a Pill, that music video in there, you see behind her several times throughout the video, he said is a high wizard. It's a man wearing a top hat, like a Mad Hatter hat, face paint, and he's casting spells over Pink. You can see him with a wand and everything. And he said that is a high wizard, 100%. And and that kind of goes into the whole Hollywood thing that we hear. But James, during his experience, the guy who gave him the VIP bracelet, he said was wearing a Mad Hatter hat.
What?
And I didn't think about it when he said it on the interview. It just went over my head until somebody mentioned it in the Discord. And so I said, I reached out to James and I sent him a picture of the guy from the music video. And I said, did the guy with the Mad Hatter hat look like that? And he said, during the day, he had less face paint on, but at night he looked just like that.
Whoa, bro.
So is this it right here? Is this the guy?
That's it. Yep, that's
Yeah,
him.
you see him right there too on the one I pulled up. I'm more of a still figure, but yeah, you see a top hat.
Yeah, Pink's into some dark shit, dude.
Oh, look at the
She's from
bunnies
Philly,
too.
too.
I didn't notice that. There's a bunch of bunnies in that right there.
Oh yeah, it's like dark stuff. I that music video is almost like a coming out for her. But anyways, so this guy in the Mad Hatter hat, this high wizard, in this music video, that's what they look like. And so I know that there was probably a high wizard at this place. What's really interesting, and I can't go into great details other than I'll tell you this. Just this morning, as I was thinking about all this stuff, because I don't really think about this a whole lot, and then knowing coming on here, I was like trying to get the story straight because it's a lot of details. It just hit me. I got one of those guys following me right now.
Hold on.
Wait a minute.
You got a high wizard.
No,
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, shit, bro. You got to get the Lord, dog.
I got the Lord. That's why I'm not sweating it.
You love the Lord. You've always said how much how spiritual and religious you are, so you're good.
Yeah, I'm one of those Jesus boys, but
Jesus boys.
Yeah. I just connected the dots. I can tell you guys after we're done recording, but the reason why I don't want to say it here is because I think that this guy is following me and knows it like following me virtually as well. And I don't want him to know that I know outright. You know what I mean? But I probably just did by saying that.
Yeah.
But,
Quick question. Quick question. We always talk about Bigfoot being interdimensional. Is there any way Dogfoot and Bigfoot are like homies, or they like?
Dogfoot?
I mean, Dogman. Yeah,
I
Dogman.
like Dogfoot even better.
Yeah, Dogfoot. Right.
That's a great name
That
for a
is.
band, by the way.
Dogfoot, yeah,
is there
it's a
any way
metal
they're
band,
friends?
for sure.
Any way they're homies? Are they the same from the same dimension? Whole different thing.
yeah. I started connecting that dot too recently. So there's I had a guy here.
Cousins.
Yeah, at least something. It's not illegal though. Don't worry. I had a guy here in studio. He's a retired sheriff out towards Nashville in the middle of Tennessee. And he tells a story. He just started telling his experience from back in 93. He didn't come out and talk about this until he was retired. But in 93, him and his one partner from work went on a camping trip / hunting trip into the LBL. I mentioned that earlier. There's a lot of legends out of the LBL, a lot of scary stories, lots of dogmen, upright walking creatures, portals, a lot of that stuff. He said that he was in the woods and they split up during the day.
Never split up in the woods, by the way. Number one rule, never split up in the woods.
Never. I can't say I follow that rule though. But so they split up for the day. And he doesn't have a great camping trip. He runs into another guy from Kentucky on a camping trip, and they exchange pleasantries. And he's walking back to camp. It's getting late, and he starts noticing. First he hears a metallic sound, like a metallic door opening or closing, out in the middle of the woods.
Whoa.
And this is something that is a detail that pops up in a lot of people's experiences. And it's something that I theorize might be a sound associated with portals opening up. And in fact, there's another guy that just locally here had that experience, I think last week. And he actually recorded a portal opening up on camera.
What? Shut up.
What?
Well, what?
Yeah.
Like audio or video as well, like the whole thing?
How do you audio record a portal?
He said
sounds
they
like a
sound like
metal
metal.
door.
Yeah, he said they sound like a metal door.
Oh,
Sound
shit.
like a car door
Point Xavier.
Yeah,
Damn.
Sam, I'll text you the picture real quick so you can, I don't know, share with the guys or whatever.
Yeah, we want to see this stuff.
So he got it on audio, but also on video. He does he goes looking for these things, and what he does is he rigs a GoPro on his shoulder facing backwards. He believes that he'll catch more that in that direction, and that's what this is. He has it on video, but this picture, it really shows it clearly. What we call the portal bubble. When you look at it closely, you can actually see like a bubble opening up on this trail, and then there's like a doorway opening up within the bubble that looks like something could be popping through at any moment, really. But the same guy just last week recorded metallic sounds out in the woods. So Sam, I just sent that to you.
Yeah, I just sent to Johnny the post.
So, anyways, the LBL, the sheriff, he starts seeing like what he thought was a dog on all four running on the ridge above him. And then he saw what he thought was a man standing behind a tree smoking a cigarette. Hindsight, we don't think that's what it was. But long story short, that what I'm telling right now is episode 514 of my show. People could check that out as well. But he goes to camp that night with his partner. Multiple dogmen come into their camp. They run for their life. When they jump into the pickup truck, he said they turn on the truck. He's in the bed of the truck. Lights are shining forward, and there's a field across the little roadway that they're parked off of. Their lights shine in the field, and what's standing there in the field are two Bigfoot standing there just staring at him. Damn. And the way he tells the story, it's almost like the Bigfoot and Dogman arrived together. And the way I almost take it is, it's like it's almost like it's like some weird family stuff going on. It's almost like as if you had a dog on a leash and you let the dog off the leash and you just said go. That's the way he described it. Like the way they looked at him, it was almost like they were standing there intentionally just watching the show happen. Like that's what was planned. And so when you say about the Bigfoot and Dogman together, that's a story that kind of ties them together.
Does that
then there's
suggest
other people
a hierarchy? I'm sorry. Does that suggest a hierarchy with Bigfoot and Dogman? Like Dogman's almost like less evolved or something, to borrow a term from science?
That particular story, yeah. I don't know if that's true, though. I think that I think that Bigfoot and Dogman are, when you see it, you're looking at something. But I think that depending on which individual you're seeing, I think they come from different places. I think that there is an ancient history to these things. I think that there's an interdimensional aspect to these things. I think that there could be, just like we know they're cloning human beings, I think that they could be creating these things in the labs.
Fascinating.
That's some crazy shit.
Are you suggesting that they manifest that way here, but that's not their true nature as they appear? Or are you saying that?
I was just thinking of that. I was just thinking whether that's their true nature, or do they form as something that we can understand?
Yeah, so I think I'm not sure about true nature. When I think about it, I think that their nature is what their nature is. But I would say that we have on video a Dogman that is in the middle of transformation. It's parts of it is translucent. It's on video. You see it very clearly. Anybody can look it up. All you gotta do is probably go on YouTube, or I don't know, but look for like metaphysical Dogman or something. I don't know. Like it's a guy. He was in Florida, and he had seen this thing. Yeah, he saw this thing. He posted I think maybe even pictures on his Facebook page. People were commenting about it, so he goes and goes live on Facebook. And while he's live on Facebook, he actually that video that you're showing there, that's
is it in your episode?
No, it's not in that episode.
Okay.
No. But while he's live on Facebook, they see on Facebook Live this upright walking dog that looks to be about 8-9 feet tall run underneath a street light. And when you see it, it's like translucent, like you could see through it. And I don't know how you fake that on a Facebook Live. And when you see the guy, like, he's not the kind of guy you would expect to have some kind of tech savvy to do something like that, even if it's possible. But yeah, these things, I think the longer they're in this realm, the more physical they become. I think that they're very much interesting.
I find
it's
it
just
very interesting.
Is it man captures cryptid on Facebook Live? Is that possibly it?
With the black guy?
Yeah, with the
black guy with the blue do-rag.
Let's see it. Let's see it.
Here we go.
It's at like 57 or something like that.
57 seconds?
Yeah, a little closer to that.
Yeah, it's towards the beginning. Yeah. Yeah, right there. That's around
There's
that
a lot
time. Yep.
going on with this video, too.
Yeah, there really is.
What's this guy's story?
How old?
Watch that light post.
Spot now. That's my backyard. Zoom it in a little piece. This is the exact spot that I just
You see that?
Yeah, totally.
That was weird.
Hold on, I'm going to slow it down just a bit so we can check that out again.
Whoa, bro. That's nuts. Wow.
All right. It should come. There it is.
Right
There it
there.
is.
Well, that does. It looks like
That's, that
looks
looks like Slender Man or something. I'm not
like
even,
a greyhound, like a really tall greyhound.
Yeah. Wow, bro.
And I see what you're saying by it's being translucent. It absolutely is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And he was on Facebook Live for like 30 minutes after this, talking about it as people were reacting and talking about it in the chat. Like he freaked out when he saw it. And
Now, was
and
he talking about how, was he saying up that happens a lot?
yeah, what was he talking about
No,
at the beginning of this?
He had
stream?
just seen it. He had
Oh, I
just
see.
seen it.
Okay.
He posted about it on the Facebook and people were commenting. So he goes live to show people where he saw it. And that's why he was zooming in there. That's where he saw it. And then it ran by again.
Wow, Tony, that's crazy.
That's so
Yeah.
interesting.
That's so
So-
crazy, dude. Wow.
And so, I mean, that's what I mean. Like by metaphysical, it's like, it's physical, but it's not like there's a guy in Michigan talking about the physical side of things. His name's Joe. And he was down here. He's not on my show, but he came and visited me here. He was in Michigan and he was a tractor trailer driver and he was on an incline and he had a brake issue. He gets out, works on his trailer middle of the night. And so when he gets back in his truck, he starts going. Now, anybody who drove tractor trailer like I did, you know that if you have a full load and you're going uphill real slow. There is no going real fast. And so he's getting up there probably about 15, 20 miles an hour. He looks in, and again, truck drivers, they're taught to always be looking in their mirrors to make sure that no cars are coming. You're dealing with a lot. So he's checking his mirrors. He looks in his passenger side mirror and he sees something coming up alongside of his truck. And when this thing comes up, he said, now, when you're sitting in a tractor trailer, your head is probably about, I would say, 9 feet in the air. Generally speaking, about 9 feet in the air. And he said that this thing came up alongside of his truck. Now he's going about 20, 25 miles an hour. This thing easily runs up next to it. It has to duck its head down to look inside the passenger side window. And he said it was an upright running dog.
Oh,
and
my God.
He said the head was just absolutely enormous. It filled the window. He said this thing was absolutely huge. And I forget what he had with him next to his seat. It was a very large caliper handgun. I actually held it. Like he brought it with him to show me. It was a very big gun. And he said he grabbed the gun, picked it up, pointed at it, and blew its face off. And
what?
Whoa.
He shot it and killed it. And then so it goes, it drops. He goes up the hill, pulls a U-turn because he's going to come back down and run it over. And when he's coming down the hill, there was another car pulled off to the side of the road, and no body found. And he slows down. And he says, "You all right?" And they're like, "Yeah, there was 2 big bears here." And he's like, "I know what that was. They were no big bear." But he just keeps driving. Now, this is where the theories pop in, right? So who are those people? Could those people have been not so random? That would go along the lines of this creature being made and being tracked by some organization. Now they said there's
Frankenstein almost like.
Yeah,
right,
totally.
right. So he says there was two. They said there was two big bear there. If they are innocent in this whole thing, and that's what they saw, well, then there's two creatures and not just one. So what he's saying is like, where'd the second one come from? And he doesn't know where it came from, if it was coming up the driver's side and he didn't see it because he was looking at the passenger side the whole time. But clearly there was no bodies there when those people were there when he turned around. So my guess is that there was two, and the healthy one drugged the body off. Why, I don't know, but
Fascinating.
That it's a really interesting. He tells his own story better than I do. I mean,
bro.
That's fascinating. Have you heard anything
But,
about shapeshifters? Because we had a guy called Broken Sim, and the guy comes off the trail, disoriented, him and his girl, and they get in the car, and the parking lot's suddenly empty after there've been a lot of people there. And next to them, there's somebody in an old truck, really loud gospel, like preaching music playing, like old timey preaching music. Next to the guy in the car, I'm saying guy, creature, is like a doll dressed in a cheerleading outfit. And then this person that is just inhuman. There's something inhuman about their features. And they see an arm become almost like liquid and slither between the steering wheel. And they have some photos of it, actually, which are pretty impressive. And kind of like loop its way around the steering wheel. This really creepy. Have you heard anything about that? Like sort of like slithering, like people who can, inspect their gadget, their arms and their limbs. Is that something you've heard of?
Not that specifically, but there's a lot of physical transformation that people can do, especially the deeper you get into this kind of stuff. I think that we're spiritual beings living a physical existence.
Yes.
And so the more people tap into the reality of how spiritual we actually are, the more you discover. And I don't think that, for me, on my theological perspective, I don't think that we're necessarily meant to know how to do everything. But clearly that is the case. And even with the skinwalkers, I mean, we went out to the Skinwalker Ranch last year. And we went out to a property that borders Skinwalker Ranch called Space Wolf Research. You guys know him, Ryan Burns.
Ryan Burns is a very good friend of mine. I love him very much.
I still want to go.
Yeah, like so Ryan, literally, the way I ever heard about Tinfoil Hat Podcast was the episode you guys had him in studio. I saw it was like Dogman. Someone's like, oh, let me check this out. And then I was like, on that episode, Sam's like, man, I love it. I got to do more paranormal stuff. I'm like, I'm your guy.
Yeah, dude, you are our guy, bro. You are our guy.
But we went out to his property and we spent a week out there hunting down skinwalkers, and we wanted to get the native perspective on this. And I wasn't sure what to expect, but the native perspective is really interesting because they take it very serious. I wasn't sure if I was going to be walking into a place where like the natives of today, they're like, oh yeah, that's just, that's what we were told, but we don't really believe it. Like, they believe it. And what we found out there, we believe it too. We came across some really gnarly stuff. That film's going to be released next month, probably in July or early August. It's going to be called The Shape of Shadows. And we spent a week out there and we had crazy stuff. We caught a UFO on video before I even arrived there. A couple of team members of mine arrived a day early, and they were just filming the valley. And during broad daylight, a UFO shoots right through the camera feed. And then that night when we arrived, the sky was popping off and lighting up like crazy. We found ritual circles and trackways that transformed from human to horse. Just tons of weird stuff. And that's just a week out there. I can't imagine the people who actually live out there, what they see all the time. But yeah, I mean, so there's that skinwalker shapeshifter kind of thing that I think is more prevalent than people realize. I think that and it's not just in Utah. I think there's a lot of people that tap into that kind of dark energy. for their own nefarious means.
It's way more interesting than people want to believe, bro.
Hey,
It's super deep, man.
If you're listening and you can do any of these tricks, just send us a little video. Just pop it over to us. We'd
Come
love
on,
to see
we'll
it.
give you a free
Me
T-shirt.
too. Me too.
Hey Tony, Tony, what do you think about or what happened to Andrew Dawson? You know who that is, right? The
Yeah, you wanna
TikToker.
hear-
Yeah, the TikToker that saw the capture the giant on the mountain, and they say he disappeared. There's his funeral thing that technically he died. I mean, aren't you a little scared? You're in that cryptic world.
I talked to Andrew Dawson a few days before he died.
What?
Yeah, I didn't know he was going to die, right? But
That'd be weird if
So
you did. Hey, dude, 3 days. Good luck. Get all your
Yeah.
business taken care of.
that's going to be a good movie for Merkel Media. Yeah, I reached out to him when I saw that video because I was like, dang, that's a killer video. But if anybody who doesn't know, he filmed giants walking on top of a mountain in British Columbia while he was driving. And I reached out to him because I did a little digging on him. I saw he had TikTok and everything. And I just reached out to him. I said, is the images or the video real, or are you just, trying to, get attention with the content creation, which I'm not hating on. I'm in the content creation myself. I just go about a different way. And he didn't answer me for, I think, a month or two. And then in June, I think it was June last year or June the year before, whenever he died, he hit me back with some weird cryptic messages. I know we have it posted on the website somewhere. I just can't remember exactly. Lindsay, my wife, does all the blogs and stuff. Dawson, let me see if I can find it here real quick. Because on the website, on the actual blog post, here it is. She posted some screenshots of my conversation with him because I hit him up on Instagram, and I just said to him, "Hey, brother, would you want to come on my podcast and talk about your giant video? Let me know. Thanks." And then on June 23rd, he said, "Hey," that's all he said. And I said, "Hey, brother, what's good? What was the giant video real or prank?" He says, "All fake, everything fake. It's fake." And then he says in another message, "Why?" And then he says, "What did you see?" And well, she doesn't have the rest of the message here, but I told him, I said, I see a giant. I see a giant there. Is it real? And he's like, he says in the message to me, he says, I can't talk. You shouldn't talk to me. And then he says it's fake again or something like that. I can't remember how it all went. But then a few days later, he dies. Everybody's like freaking out about it. And, rightfully so. I kind of do some digging on it, and so did my wife and some other people. And you're looking at the family social media, and, we actually found an obituary. And, if by all accounts, the guy is actually dead. He's not faking his death. He's actually dead. And people were saying that, in his TikTok videos he was posting, it was showing nefarious characters popping up at his house.
FBI, like
people,
like FBI agents, not FBI agents that you can't say,
but
but like black cars outside and shit.
Right. But and people were saying CIA, maybe CIA, I don't know, but like that's
Men in
Canada
Black,
or whatever. Yeah, Men in Black would be probably better.
Did you see a cause of death in the obit? Did it have a cause of death?
I don't know. What is that?
Cause of death
Oh,
is how he died.
Yeah. I thought you said Clouds of Death.
Sorry,
like,
another great band name.
I get Clouds of Death is a great name for a band, bro.
Big time.
Yeah, opening up for Dogfoot, bro.
Dogfoot. Yeah. So I don't know if I don't remember. I don't think it said Cause of, or Clouds of Death. But what I gathered, this is what I think. I don't have like absolute proof of this, but this is what I think happened. Just by seeing the social media posts of extended family and, them remorsing publicly in comment sections, to me, it sounds like he killed himself. And one could say, well, if he did kill himself, he killed himself because he's scared to death of these people, whatever they did to him. But just by the tone of the commentary online, it seems like he was a very depressed individual that might have been making these videos for escape. And I don't know how you fake the giant video. I don't know. I've never tried faking a giant video before. And I don't know if that's accurate or not. All I know is from what we've gathered, there seems to be a direction leaning towards suicide from depression. And so I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I know it's not juicy, you know, like we want to say that he was taken out by the man.
We got enough
like,
juicy here with Johnny. Trust us. We don't need more juicy.
But that's where you get your credibility from.
Here's his obituary. I mean, with at least what I could find of it, there's nothing really.
Well, rest in peace, Andrew Ryan Watchorn Dawson. Andrew Dawson. Rest in peace.
It's a shame because he had a wife and kids, and if I remember correctly, I think she's the one who posted something about how upset she is that he could do this or something like that. But again, it's been a while since I looked at that, but I just remember reading the tone of the commentary on like Facebook posts and things like that and thinking, yeah, I think this guy might have been severely depressed and was doing this stuff to escape from reality of the depression.
Yeah, that sucks, man. And there are a lot of people in this, whether it's the paranormal or the truther community, and they end up, unfortunately, ending their lives. And then everybody starts running around and blaming the CIA or the Men in Black and all that stuff. And we've seen it happen, dude. We've seen it happen. And that's a big problem I have right now with like a lot of the narrative on social media too. It's like anybody that dies is death through some like weird shit they believe. Like nobody just naturally dies anymore. They're just like, oh, it's the vax, or oh, it's this or that. And I'm not saying that we haven't seen an uptick in a lot of this stuff, or we haven't seen people off themselves, but I think people just, it's like it's just easier for people to come to grips with that something mysterious happened to them and that they didn't just choose make a bad decision, and like a buddy of mine, it was going around. He had gotten vaccinated, and he and that's what killed him. But in reality, the coroner said he killed himself, and he was an actor, and it sucks that it got so dark for him that he just didn't want to go on anymore because he was such a good dude. And it sucks. And these things suck. But with that said, you're just going to come back here and do it all over again if you off yourself. So if you're thinking about doing it, just know everything you can't stand right now, you're going to come back again and have to deal with it and have to learn how to overcome it to go to the next level of life. So that's my whole vision. Tony, great episode. You have me listening, I'm sure. So we'll find out if people like that or not, because I was like, Sam, shut up. Let the guests talk. Well, I let Tony talk, and it was a wonderful episode. And I'm very thankful that you came on again. And you're doing, like I said, Tony, man, I tell you this off podcast, and I'll tell you to you on podcast. You're an American success story. You're doing the Lord's work, and you're doing great. And you should be really proud of everything you've done and where you are right now and what the future holds. So congratulations on all that. So real quick, one more time, tell them where they could find you.
Yeah, the Confessionals podcast is the main gig where I interview people on their wild experiences. Dogman, Bigfoot, portal hopping, UFO abductions, all that stuff. And if they want to reach out to me and share their story, they can email me, contact@theconfessionalspodcast.com, or hit up the website. And that's what I do. And I also have Merkel Media, which is, the side hustle. I just got to have another side hustle. So I started Merkel Media, and we have podcasters like Charlie Robinson from Macroaggressions on there. And we're also doing films, and we're hunting down these legends. And we went to Skinwalker Ranch last year. That film's gonna be coming out in July or beginning of August. And just a couple months ago, we went out to Washington State. My buddy Wes had a gnarly Bigfoot encounter where they let's just put it this way. It's probably one of the most wild Bigfoot experiences you'll ever hear your entire life. And he saw 3 of these things very clearly in threatening manners, him and his brother both. We went to the scene of the crime, and we did our investigation that week. The same week we were there, we stumbled across a missing person case, and that person is still missing, and it looks like very suspicious. Like we found his van and all his weed and everything outside the van. The porta potty that he set up there, like a bucket, was untouched, so he wasn't there very long. We found a pair of shoes probably about 50 to 100 feet away from the camp. And it looks like this guy just disappeared off the face of the earth. And that was literally about 100 feet away from the site of Wes's Bigfoot encounter. People go missing up there all the time. We went out there and we went looking for it. And we had some experiences. Like in Wes's experience, he had he talks about this deep guttural growl. He was in his brother's vehicle, and it sounded like it was in the vehicle with him. That's how deep and guttural you could feel it. And we were getting back we had an RV. We rented an RV that week, and we were getting back in the RV. It was probably about 3:00 in the morning. And everybody was in the RV except for me and Joel, which you guys know Joel, by the way. Joel from Van Tesla, Kill the Mockingbirds.
Yeah.
He and I were getting in the RV, and we hear this deep guttural growl that sounded like it was right over my shoulder. And before that happened, that night, we got up there and we had tapping on our RV. We had that classic rotten skunk trash smell outside that everybody says is when you know a Bigfoot's around.
Why don't they shower, bro? You're from another dimension. Present
saying,
yourself
like,
a little better.
What if in that dimension smelling like shit is good?
What?
What if in that dimension smelling like shit is good?
Oh my, that's actually probably
Yeah.
a good point.
Outside the box
What if
thinking,
smelling like dumpster fire shit is peacocking in his dimension?
You got to get it.
Were you scared? Do you get scared? I wanted to ask you that. What's the scariest you've been?
I have a feeling Johnny wants to do this. Do you need an intern?
I'm fascinated by all this, of course, but I think I would be incredibly scared.
Yeah, me too, bro.
Yeah. That was terrifying because like I've been out in the woods a lot and you get unnerved, but I haven't had a whole lot of stuff happen to me out in the woods. I've had it happen around me. I've had it happen to other people when I was there, but it didn't happen to me.
Yeah.
That was that night, gearing up, knowing that we were going back to a scene we had already been to, knowing what happened there to my buddy Wes, knowing that a few days before that, we found this van that was seen to be abandoned, to only find out that night we got up there, it's still there, everything's still untouched. Now we're knowing that this person hasn't been here in a while. It's starting to feel like a missing person case, which it is now. And then we get there. We had with the first thing we opened up the door, immediately we're hit with that smell. We smell it. We're inside. We're talking. We're doing night vision out the windows, and then we hear this tapping, 3 taps, clear as day, like somebody's tapping on a window. And to the point that I literally thought somebody else tapped until somebody said, "Did you hear that?" I'm like, "Yeah, didn't you make that sound?" And they're like, "No, it wasn't me." And we realized, and we got that on recording. Something was tapping on the RV. And then we're out there. I send Joel off by himself because Joel's the crazy guy. Like, you think I'm crazy? Joel's crazy. Like Joel, before we go out there, prays to God that a portal opens up and takes him. Like he wants to go so bad. Like I'm telling you, Joel's wild, dude. So he goes off by himself, and he comes back, and we're getting. Oh, we filmed something weird on camera too. Like I don't know what it was, but we're getting back in the RV and we had that growl. So leading up to that growling moment, knowing that I was just at Wes's house that earlier that evening, him telling the story for the cameras and having that fresh in my mind of the growl, it scared me really, really bad. I don't know if I conveyed that on camera. I wasn't really even worried about the camera at that moment. I was very nervous the rest of that night. And so, yeah, I think that was probably.
Can you hear it on camera, or is it more of like a physical sensation? That sound.
It was definitely. Me and Joel both heard it, and it sounded like it was right over our shoulder. But the camera guy was already in the RV.
That's great. Good to know that guy's fast to run, right?
Yeah, no, he was getting on the RV so that he could film us coming into the RV.
Got it.
And We're learning though. We're gonna have more cameramen in future films. Yeah, that was a terrible
camera fighters, bro. Guys who can handle camera and fight.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
Like fighting Bigfoot. Bigfoot just ripped their heads off.
Like, I need everybody to sign the contract saying you are pledging to put your life down for me so that I can escape life. So the world needs to hear the story, and I'm the storyteller. So yeah, that was probably off the top of my head, probably the scariest thing that I've had happen out in the woods. But again, like, I'm literally right when I'm hanging up with you guys, running out the door to go up into the mountains to hunt down a possible portal location where a guy 14 years ago went missing under very mysterious circumstances. And we're going to be hitting up the area with some more equipment that the police aren't using to see if we can find any irregularities. Let's put it that way. Because we think that portals might have radiation attached to them. And so we have a Geiger counter up there. And I also might be in July going up to Ohio to possibly a site where there's a buried Bigfoot, and I'll be testing the soil to see if there's any radiation involved there as well.
Why do you think the Bigfoot's still radiating?
Yeah, I was talking to Dr. Melba Ketchum, and she was talking to me about certain things, and she brought up that some people talk about how some of these burial sites, these supposed burial sites with these creatures, have high amounts of radiation, and that there have been some people that have died of radiation. I don't know, is it radiation poisoning or burning or whatever?
Yeah, radiation poisoning.
With 2 to 3 months after digging up these mounds. So she told me to bring a Geiger counter, and if there's any radiation, figure out what to do from that point.
Such a crazy world you live in, dude.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
It's so
But
deep,
apparently not
bro.
all of them are radiation. Like that's the thing. Like some of them, not all of them are like have radiation. That's like that goes to the different origins that I talk about. Like if these things are coming through portals, and portals have are involved with radiation, then okay, that makes sense. Where some of them not having the radiation stuff, maybe they're more natural, or maybe they were lab created. I don't know, but I mean, I could talk to you guys forever, but I'm like 15 minutes late.
Okay. All right. We appreciate you. Nice episode, Tony. So go to the Confessionals podcast, Confessionals podcast.com. Links are below. Tony, thank you so much. Guys, go to samtripoli.com for all the links to my shows, what I have coming up, and enjoy these highlights of some of my podcasts and some of our affiliates. Check them out. Holla at your boy. We'll talk to you soon. Enjoy the highlights.
Here's a clip from the latest Broken Sim.
Talking to RFK, even though I don't agree with everything he's saying,
here it
doesn't
is.
make you a bad
Here it
person.
is.
And the best way to challenge misinformation is actually good information. If you just scroll down to part 2, there's also stuff about COVID, right? Like the vaccines were pushed on people who didn't need them with COVID, 100%. Most masks don't work, and we weren't allowed to say this, right?
But
and
he was
that is
talking
how
about
the
like
science
these things that he
wrecked
doesn't know, like
credibility in itself.
you know, like the Wi-Fi and the blood membrane.
You
Like
gotta
you don't
restore
know
faith in the
this, and
science
you're
by
just
acknowledging.
and you're too smart to just make comments like that. Like this is my problem with this whole narrative about RFK Jr. Like, dude, this guy won a lawsuit against Monsanto's. He understands. He is a scientist.
That shit scares me to death, by the way, because on the farm they use that shit all the time.
Of course,
all
bro.
the time, dude.
But this guy's like, he literally does the thing I can't stand. Like, I love this guy. I don't want you guys to think I really love what this guy does. But he said something stupid like, both my parents are scientists. What
does that have to do with anything?
Like, it's the dumbest, like, disclaimer or whatever you want to
it's
call
just irrelevant information.
It's
yeah.
irrelevant.
Yeah.
Well, so what? Your parents are both like, dude, you're telling me they're not doing stupid shit in schools? Well, that's not right. Both my parents were teachers. What does that mean? Like, it's just like, it's just like people, here's the problem with all this stuff, RFK, all this stuff. The people can't take that they got it completely wrong when it's coming to this stuff. They just can't take it. And
I don't even more than that. They can't believe that they that all these authorities that they've trusted, were lying to them the whole time.
It's just like
knowingly.
RFK is doing something, and like I know that RFK has said some stupid stuff in the past.
Everybody has.
Everybody has. Everybody has.
Especially at that level.
And again, like, I'm of an age where I know I'm never, ever, ever going to trust anybody 100%. Maybe Ron Paul.
So James O'Keefe is back. He's got something called the OMG O'Keefe Media Group.
Okay.
Have you seen
this
that?
This is my
it's called
favorite
OMG.
thing. Dude, what men will talk about
This guy,
for
that's
holes?
what I wanted to talk about.
For
dude.
holes. I
This
mean,
is
like,
so funny. This
it's
guy
just
is an idiot.
unbelievable, bro. What people give up family secrets
Yes.
for a quality hole, bro.
This BlackRock guy is going on dates with these chicks and just bragging about, just giving away secrets.
And it's
dude.
so
hilarious.
crazy. It's like, Johnny, you know what this reminds me of? Like guys who think sending a dick pic is a pickup move. Like if you have a decent, nice sized dick, you're like, hey man, look at this. You think women like that? So this guy's bragging now.
No, only like really freaky women are into dick pics, like super freaks.
Yeah, like size queens.
Yeah,
who
some
just
of them,
have car trunks for snatches.
Some freaky chicks like it.
Oh, Johnny, huh? Does your girl like it?
No, not my girl.
Johnny's girl.
No,
likes-
no, I promise she's not her, but other girls do.
Okay. So, anyways, this guy somehow and I make no illusions that I have some serious trepidation. Is that the word I'm looking for?
Yeah.
About James O'Keefe and all that stuff. Like again, I take everything in Krav Maga stance. Okay.
They did kneecap his whole outfit though, so there's some that lends him some credibility to me. That
Right,
they took
but
him
it's
out.
just like a lot of things. This story's a little different. The story about weaponized viruses is very weird
it could
to
be
me.
he was used. They used his outfit to get that information out.
Maybe, dude,
possible.
because we've talked about that.
So they want you to believe that viruses are real.
There we go, Johnny. There we go.
They don't want people to talk about them. They don't want to be anywhere on the radar.
Why not?
I don't know, but I suspect it's probably because it's easier to do things when people aren't thinking about it. All of these financial institutions, they buy politicians. You can take this big ton of money, and then you can start to buy people.
I actually feel bad for this guy because he's far. So you ever hear these stories about how like these CIA assets, like going back to? By the way, this is what I was talking about in the CIA ad. They want hot chicks who can just seduce people.
You're so right, dude. It's total
This is
honey
what I'm
pot.
talking about.
It's who's controlling the wallet.
It's who's controlling the wallet.
So it's
And who's that?
the hedge funds, BlackRock, the banks. These guys
By the way, this
finance.
chick loves it. She's getting paid and getting fed. Okay, this is the best gig ever, and I don't have to fuck this guy.
So funny. I would love to see what these chicks look like, by the way. You think he just hires like total smoke shows to go on these dates?
100%.
Yeah, that's great.
He probably goes to like somewhere in Dallas,
Recruits
just
at
finds
sorority houses.
Dallas, Florida, Tennessee, and just finds smoke shows. And just like going to
You
date.
can buy your candidates. And obviously, we have the system in place. First, there's the senators. And these
By
guys
the
are
way,
rich.
real quick, guys, if a 10 is really interested in your work, she's probably fucking got a hidden camera.
Yeah. If her questions about your work go anywhere past how much money you make,
Yeah.
she's got a hidden camera.
If a hot chick is really interested in your work outside of your paycheck, she's probably got a hidden camera.
You could even say if a hot chick is interested in you at all, she's either a prostitute or wearing a hidden camera.
If she's making eye contact with you and you're not an NBA player or a rapper, you're probably being filmed right now.
If she's in the room with you and hasn't left within 10 seconds.
If you can't believe this chick is way out of your league and she really cares about your job.
If she hasn't spit in your face within 10 seconds of you being in the same room, she's probably wearing a hidden camera.
All right, guys, real quick before we're done, we want to tell you about all of our affiliates. It's a great way to support the show. As you know, fiat money is chaos. Okay, fractional reserve banking, dangerous. The best way to get out of it is precious metals, in particular silver and gold, and that's why we're working at Wise Wolf. Okay, Wise Wolf Silver and Gold. Just go to samtripoli.com or samtripoli.gold, and you could join. And he's hooking you up. They got great you can either buy single time or you can sign up for their program where you can buy up to $500 a month. I'm doing it. I hope you can too. We also have everybody at Eagle Research. That's right. Eagle Research, AquaCure Mobile, Model AC50 brown gas, hydrogen brown gas. The guy who makes it says it's secure. People are using it. Check it out. Just go there, use the promo code tinfoil hat, 3 words, and get a discount. Go back to the main page, Sam Tripoli. You will get you get a discount with the promo code tinfoil. And then our good friends over at Haley Ray CrystalShop.com. Go to the promo code is Swarm15. Get 15% off all your crystals, all your quartz, all you name it. What do we got here? Look at all this stuff. All this stuff, all the best. You can do it right there. It's all part of the best crystal shop on the internet. Jewels, bracelets, clusters, you name it. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Candles, you name it. You got it. Swarm15. Thank you for supporting the show. We love you. And thank you so much for your support.
Check out this clip from the latest Cash Daddies.
Well, give us some examples of non-food franchises.
Yeah, right now, non-trendy is the new trendy, or non-sexy, I would say, is where people want to be. It's those boring cash flowing businesses that are Amazon resistant, maybe a little less discretionary. So you're talking about things like home and property services, insulation, gutters, dumpsters, concrete. You're talking about things like senior care. People are all, getting older. And so seniors, we'll always spend on those. We'll spend on our pets, on our kids. So, we're doing a lot of, soccer, youth soccer options. We're, putting people into senior care, but then all these property services, or even automotive, we're still doing oil changes, a little bit of health and wellness. And so, all these industries, when people see them, oftentimes they don't know what they're looking for until it's right there in front of them. Then they understand the financials and they understand kind of this idea of portfolio building, as I call it, where you stack franchises on top of each other and put managers in place and kind of co-manage the manager over the franchisor. So, we just have plenty of client case studies where they've been able to build out these robust portfolios over time of these different types of businesses.
Why is this so hot? Why are people franchising? Why is that franchising so hot right now?
Yeah, really it was hot before COVID, but I think ever since COVID, it's only picked up steam. People we're sitting around thinking about the path they're on and saying, maybe now's the time to scratch that entrepreneurial itch. So I'd say that's a component of it. But I also think, I'd say probably 75% of our clients are real estate investors. And right now there's just not many good real estate deals to be had. So that's a common narrative that I hear. And others are just kind of waking up to the idea of, hey, I've always wanted to be in business. I've never had that brilliant idea. And maybe I want to hedge my risk a little bit and step into a proven system. And so they're really resonating with the whole idea of the proposition that franchising provides them, of having a playbook, having a coach on the sidelines, of having others around the country running the same business day in, day out, leverage supply chains, what have you. So, we're doing our best to get out there, and we do a lot of speaking, a lot of educating, and I think that's helping people turn the light bulb on.
So do you take customer A and hook them up with franchise B that's already been an existing successful franchise for years and years? Or are you coming up with these franchises and saying, hey, we have this franchise, it's been around for 2 years, it's doing gross amount of sales within this population. What do you do? You're hooking them up with the franchise?
Yeah, in about 5 or 10% of cases, they're buying into an existing business. So it's a franchise that's been running in that market. But in over 90% of the cases, it would be a proven franchise where they're operating in other markets.
We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind. Tinfoil hack.